Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man.
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man. 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Your Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL, Myles Garrett. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It's the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Time for a little coffee talk, presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of morning by going to texags.com/coffee. I'm David Nuño. He is Olin Buchanan. He's our Heisman Trophy voter and our Jimmy Buffett enthusiast. And it's Friday, February the 9th. Where did the time go? 2024, by the way. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm a little tired.
Really?
God, I'm such an old man, bro. I just broed you to make me younger. I went to an awesome event last night.
Yeah.
12th Man Foundation had me do a Q&A with Tori in York. Okay.
Cool. All right.
And I didn't get out of there until about 9:20-ish. For me, that's like bedtime, buddy.
Right.
But I had such a good time. And Torian is just I hate to use this comparison because it's like an obvious comparison. Maybe it isn't for you, but there's so much Ananias in him.
Really?
3-star, like people doubted him, comes in and just says the right things, does the right things, has the right attitude. Think about what he did this year as a freshman. I remember about 11 months ago, maybe it was 10 and a half months ago, Billy's like, this guy might start. And what did he do? He started every game.
Played extremely well, became a freshman All-American.
Yep.
And, he's one of the reasons that you can feel, reasonably optimistic about the season.
Yeah, he's one of the many. And different coaching staff. By the way, he mentioned yesterday he had a really good relationship with Coach Elko because Coach Elko was recruiting him when he was at Duke. And he loves Coach Elko and thinks the future is going to be very bright under Coach Elko. But I had a point. What was I going to say? If you look back at last year, going into the season, one of the biggest question marks was linebacker.
Absolutely.
And he's satisfied that he and obviously Edge Cooper, who might become a first-round pick in the NFL draft, Edge took his game to another level. Torrey and York lived up to all the hype that we had heard during the spring and more during the regular season. If the cornerbacks this year with the new additions,
that's what I've said before. I feel all right about linebacker. I'm not saying the next guy's going to step in there and be as good as Edger and Cooper, but I think it's reasonable to assume that Torian York will be even better in his role than he was last year. Playing his first year as a true freshman. My take. We talked about this last week. I said, give me 5 good offensive linemen and 2 good cornerbacks, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah. No, it's there's some areas that I have to see how things develop. We've got a long way. We got 8 months to go to kind of really figure out what it's going to look like. But after this week, and now we can take a little breather, right? We can kind of assess what the roster looks like, and then in a couple of months we'll have to see who leaves because people are going to leave everywhere in the country. But I really feel good about how they addressed holes. And more importantly, OB, I like the reorganization, right? Like the changing of the guard, the new voice, and some areas of weakness that I think a different voice will get the most out. Look, I'm hoping for a lot on the offensive line, but I think it's very possible.
Yeah, it's possible. Look, nothing really matters until August 31st and beyond. But we've talked about it before. All the moves have been positive, and quite frankly, I'm I'm glad that they got a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I'm glad they have a new offensive line coach. I'm glad they have a new offensive coordinator who thinks scheme does matter, because I believe scheme matters. In fact, I think there's only one person in this freaking world that thinks scheme doesn't matter. I'm glad they got a new receivers coach. So there's a lot of things I think they're going to be better at just because they're going to be coached better.
Yesterday, what do you think Torian York, when I pressed him on like some of the coaching changes, one of the ones he was excited about?
Well, probably the linebackers and defensive coordinator.
And strength and conditioning.
Strength, of course. Yeah. There's another reason to feel better.
He mentioned Tommy the Moffitt.
The Moffitt. So I just think it's going to be a better coach team. I go back to SEC Media Days last year. Eli Drinkwitz was asked one question about who's going to call the plays. Jimbo Fisher was asked one. Eli Drinkwitz said, "This is going to happen because I looked at the situation and I needed to be better, and the best way to do it is get somebody else and do this." And they had a remarkable season.
We should,
Jimbo went on this whole thing about everybody's going to help call the play, and you're like, "What are you talking about?" And of course, we had another disappointing season here.
Well, we might be talking to Coach Elko here soon. And that might be a question. Hey, who's going to call the plays? Just to kind of break the ice with Coach Elko, who's awesome. But yeah, all right. So yesterday I talked to Torian York, and this is one of the blessings of this job. Thanks to the 12th Man Foundation, by the way, for having me out. We're going to have Sam Mathews, the 12th man, who a year ago this time did not know if he was going to be able to be granted another year of eligibility to play with A&M, and he certainly did that and had a phenomenal run. Especially he had a great bowl game. So we're going to talk to Sam Mathews later on in the show. A couple of weeks ago, I had Max Wright in studio, right? I hope to get him back. He's an NFL aspirations. I was talking to Eddie Enriquez, who runs Cap Elite here in town, speed place, and that's where all the guys go. And he's working with Max right now. He said he finished one of his cycles out there, and he's getting closer and closer to being combine ready. And they're working on the shuttle, the 40, the acceleration, vertical, all that good stuff. He's been very consistent with his training, so hopefully we get to hear a little bit more about Max and some of those. So that'll be good to watch.
Yeah, Max is a guy that showed surprisingly better hands than I thought he would have.
Yeah.
When he came here as a defensive end, smart, very likable. I'm going to be rooting for him.
Mm-hmm. I am too. Eddie tells me he's got 6 or 7 weeks left of training, so he'll be ready to roll.
Well, I hope they get him all jacked up.
He looks pretty good.
You see a lot of those NFL tight ends. Sometimes they just look like a little bit bigger receivers, but then you got those other guys that look like, they look Nuño-esque.
Well,
they're in the gym all the time,
I wouldn't say all the time. I would just say 6 times a week. Yeah. Actually, 12 if you consider the 2 days. But, I mean, it's not that much, OB, if you think about 7 days in a week. I'm just kidding, guys. But I think a good idea would for all of us to go to Cap Elite. You, me, Billy, Bronny, even homeboy over here, Jackson Moss, and going through some of those drills.
Yeah.
On the treadmill, super fast, where we for sure tear our hamstring.
You're going to make sure that there's plenty of places to vomit.
Hey, let's get into 3 things we want to see. That is brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store, where you can find Brooks on Hoka shoes located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill. We're running our mouths, OB. What do you want to see? 3 things you want to see this weekend.
I want to see the Texas A&M Aggies get to the free throw line about 30-plus times against Tennessee. Because they were 28 of 34 at the free throw line and upsetting Tennessee last year. I want to see Boots Radford keep playing at the level that he's playing.
Yep.
And
what else? Tell me more. One more.
Well, I just want to see Anderson Garcia keep being Anderson Garcia.
Gosh, you and I are very similar. I'm gonna give you my 3. Can we get a 3rd straight Boots performance? I mean, he doesn't have to lead the team in scoring. I wouldn't mind if he does, but I think when you get 3 games in a row of Boots going downhill, attacking the basket, and playing the way he's played the last couple of games, now it becomes a trend. Because remember, when he had that first one, can he do it again? Well, he did it again. Now, can we make it consistent? Can we have this every 3 or 4 games, for 3 or 4 game stretches where he's being and really the rest of the way, can he attack the rim the way he's been doing the last couple of games?
Well, I think he can. I mean, he's that's been his his game for almost 3 years here.
Let's get that. Let's get Henry Coleman in double figures.
Yeah, no,
maybe a double-double. 10-10.
That may be a little bit more difficult.
He had 8 points the other night.
Yeah, but Tennessee is really good inside and really tall.
They are, but you know where they struggle? Is rebounding. They're not a very good defensive rebounding team. They're a very good defensive interior team. Where they struggle is three-point defense. Unfortunately, A&M's not the best three-point shooting team in the world.
Yeah. But A&M is a streaky shooting team. And if they just happen to get on one of those positive streaks at the three-point line, they can surprise you.
How about that? That's my third one. A controlled three-point experience. When I say controlled, I don't need 22 3-points attempted. I think you have to hit some threes against Tennessee to beat them because they're so good with their interior defense. Mm-hmm. But if you can control it, and if you're going to miss, if you're going to shoot 30%, a little bit below, keep it to about 10 to 11 shots.
You know how many three-pointers they took last year in that win over Tennessee?
How many?
15.
Okay.
There were 4 of 15. Tennessee, meanwhile, shot 31 and only made 9 of them.
That Vescovic, what's his name again?
Vescovi.
Vescovi. That guy did not miss, I feel like, against A&M.
Last year from three-point range, he was 4 of 10.
Oh, I guess he did miss 6 times.
But he's a really good player.
Yeah.
He must have had Dexter Dennis on him last year.
Dexter, we absolutely missed Dexter. I think we already knew this, but just to reiterate, Texas A&M junior Wade Taylor named in the top 10 candidates for the Bob Cousy Award, as expected. He's been that level of player.
He really has. And I said we want Anderson Garcia to just be Anderson Garcia. Wade Taylor to be Wade Taylor.
Yep.
But now if you happen to get the hot Wade Taylor, like you saw against Florida Atlantic in a loss and then against Houston in a loss, but he could turn that around too.
Absolutely.
You just want your best A&M team out there.
Hey, we have a special guest coming up at 8:20. Special guest.
Special.
All right. You don't know who it is, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah. I think only Nick Savage knows.
Okay.
And I think I hear the doorbell. Hope you don't look through the window to see who it is. Who do you think it is? If you had to take a guess. Blast from the past. That's all I can say.
Blast from the past.
Gabe Bach. No.
I'm drawing a blank here. Blast from the past, you're going to bring in R.C. Slocum.
I saw R.C. Slocum last night. My good friend R.C. Slocum. We had a little chat. It was good to see him.
Good man.
He was there. Jacob Green was there. It was awesome.
Jacob Green. I've heard great stories about Jacob Green and some of the, let's say, physical confrontations he had, especially with the Seahawks.
Ah, you looked. You saw. Did you see?
I didn't see.
Okay, good. Keep her away, or him. Ah, you saw that time.
I still can't tell who it is.
It's a very tall man. All right. So where were we? We were going somewhere.
Well, you were talking about. I was talking about Jacob Green.
Jacob Green, but you haven't guessed who it is. So
no, I mean, then somebody went by, but I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it was Batman.
It looked like it might be Batwoman.
Well, it might have been Batwoman. Do you have a guess?
I still don't.
You don't have a guess? All right. Let's go behind the glass and say hi to the people out there. If you want to be a part of the conversation, by the way, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up, 979-693-1150. We'll pick it up on the Brian Foley Law hotline, or you can text us at that same number, 979-693-1150. And there we find Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
You sound happy.
I am. The secret special guest is about 2 feet to my left, and I've instructed them to stay off screen. So, anyways, my notes for you. Myles Garrett winning his, believe his first ever Defensive Player of the Year award. What a season he had. I mean, 42 tackles, 14 sacks, 30 quarterback hits. That's crazy. 4 forced fumbles and 17 tackles for loss. So, really happy for him.
Is 30 quarterback hits really that big a deal? I mean, it seemed like he got half of that just on that fight with Randolph.
Look at those guns. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, no kidding. And, I guess I'm NFL guy today, so I'll bring it up. Super Bowl LVIII. What is that, 53? Super Bowl 53?
Super Bowl 53. I can't read Roman numerals.
Anyways, 49ers, Chiefs. My gut tells me Chiefs are taking it in. We polled the TexAgs radio audience. They agree. They think the Chiefs are winning at about a 60-40 clip. So just quick breakdown of the Super Bowl from y'all.
We'll definitely spend a lot more time on it, but I was having this conversation last night. I don't know who I'm rooting for because I see both storylines that I kind of like. I like Mahomes being doubted. Not that he's been completely doubted, but people thought the Chiefs were done after their Christmas Day game or whatever it was. They're like, oh, this is not. Even I thought, well, they're playing terrible heading into the playoffs. They're done. Here they are with a chance to win another Super Bowl. But how do you not love the Brock Purdy story?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be watching the Super Bowl with some friends of mine who went to Iowa State. So they're going to be rooting for the Niners and Brock Purdy. And I have no issue with Brock Purdy, but I detest the 49ers. I will never root for the 49ers. That'd be like the Hatfields rooting for the McCoys. It'll never happen. So I hope the Kansas City Chiefs not only win, but bury the Niners, which is going to, of course, cause a big division in my home because my wife, who doesn't care about either team except that she's a Raiders fan, so they're always going to root against the Chiefs. But I will be wearing my Buck Buchanan number 86 Kansas City Chiefs jersey to watch the game.
All right.
I should have worn it today. I didn't think about it.
You should have. You know, you've got a Uncle Rico vibe to you.
Yeah,
today.
I do. In fact, I was going to say I'm out of product.
No, put it back down. I like the Rico look.
The Rico.
Maybe our guest, we can show the picture of you and Rico.
All I got to do is say, when I saw it, because I never saw the movie.
You still haven't seen it?
Still haven't seen it.
You got to do it this weekend.
But when y'all put that picture up there, I said, guilty. I have to admit, I can't deny it. It's not flattering, but it's true.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Jackson Moss in the house. What's up, Jackson?
What's up, Obi? I got to disagree with you. I'm tired of the Chiefs, man. I got to root for the 49ers.
I could never do it.
I don't know. I got to root for Mr. Irrelevant. I love the Brock Purdy story, but there's a lot to be excited about in College Station right now. I know it's talked about and well covered on Wednesday, but how about Coach Elko?
How about him?
Picking up #1 athlete and 5-star Terry Bussey, along with 4-star Ashton Bethel Roman. Huge wins for Coach Elko early in his career as Aggie's head coach. And we were talking about it a little bit before the show, but hesitant to get excited. But I'm really excited to see where Coach Elko goes as a head coach for Texas A&M.
It's okay to be excited in February. I think it is. I think as we get closer to the season is where you start really analyzing where your expectations are. But if you can't be excited right now, after all the changes, after the transfer class, after Terry Bussey, you're never going to be excited. This is a good time to be optimistic until the games start. And then you'll have some tests, some eyeball tests to reevaluate how excited you should be.
Sounds like what you're saying is kind of remind me of the old Mike Tyson line that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face or something.
Yeah.
That's right. And then also I was going to cover
it. He didn't care. He was like, whatever, dude. I don't know Mike Tyson.
Everybody has a plan until they get their ear bit off.
Trying to make a seamless transition here. Okay. And while we're on the topic of football, it was kind of already mentioned now.
The intern just telling us to shut up. Okay.
Hey, appreciate your work here at TexAgs. You know what? Bring back Anna Rosa. Goodness gracious. Go ahead.
Now, wait a minute. Go ahead, Jackson.
While we were on the topic of football, I also feel the need to shout out Myles Garrett for and winning the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. He's always been a monster athlete, super fun to watch, and just so congratulations to him. Also, switching up sports here, Aggie women's basketball picked up a win on the road last night in Oxford. They beat Ole Miss 72-53 with Janiah Barker leading the team in points. Last night she dropped 21 on the Rebels, going 9 for 15 from the field. And then #2, Texas A&M Equestrian is set to face off against #4 South Carolina this weekend here at home. They hope to pick up a win Saturday at 1 p.m. and stay on top of the SEC rankings. And then finally, Daniel Rodriguez has been named a men's SEC Golfer of the Week following his performance at the Arizona National Invitational Tournament.
Way to go, Daniel Rodriguez.
Way to go. D-Rod.
Wonder where he's from. Daniel Rodriguez.
I don't know.
I don't either. That's why I said I wonder. I wonder where he's from.
By the way,
shout out to the people back in his house, his hometown, wherever that is.
3:30 p.m. Valpo A&M softball.
All right.
Followed by 6:30 p.m. Lehigh. And Texas A&M softball.
So
the weekend is here?
Isn't that one team coming down from Indiana and another from Pennsylvania?
Sounds right. Oh, Tulsa here in town as well.
Oh, and Baja, Arkansas.
Baja, Arkansas. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, a special guest here on TexAgs, all right?
Who could it be?
And, I wonder what word I can use to describe our next guest. I don't know. I'll let you think of a word to describe our next guest. You don't know who it is, though.
Yeah, so I,
It's going to be lit, OB.
Lit?
It's going to be lit. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to have a lit guest.
A very lit guest, all right?
Lit like Michael Jackson when his head
No,
caught
not
on
when
fire?
he caught his hair on fire with the
no.
Pepsi commercial or concert, whatever it was. Right now we're talking Heritage Films. That is Chance McClain's company. I knew that story. By the way, have you watched the We Are the World documentary?
I haven't watched it. I read about it when they first did it. Was it Time Magazine or something?
Like recently in Time Magazine or years back?
When it actually happened.
Oh, okay. No, they have a documentary on it with all the behind-the-scenes footage. I've watched the first half. Really good.
Okay.
Anyway, that has nothing to do with Heritage Films, but you should check out heritagefilms.com.
Well, they do documentaries.
They do. So, thank you, OB. Without, I'm sure it's really good, but if Chance McClain would have done it.
Yeah, even better.
Yeah, even better. Why? Because he's creative, he's awesome, and he's my friend. And that's all the reasons you need to know about Heritage Films. They make documentary films about families, about family events, family ranches, family businesses, your grandpa, your uncle. They do it, and they'll tell that story 2 hours in a first-class HBO, Netflix-style documentary. It's fantastic, and they can do events in life, birth of a kid, maybe golfing on the weekend, with your buddies, your NFL draft, NFL fantasy draft, I should say. He does all those kind of things. He also does the Year Flicks, which are these 20-minute videos that are Q&A for the youngers, right? We're talking about your freshman year of high school. You do Q&A, find out where they are in life, what they're into, their favorite subject, sports that they're into, maybe some of the other things, or good friends. Follow that up in a couple years with another video, and then maybe when they get to college and when they get their Aggie ring, and bam, you got your 4-part story. That's what you can have with the Year Flicks. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com. Call them up, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. We do have that special guest with us, Old School Social Center, Anna Rosa Peterson. What up?
Good morning.
Good morning. You were a little surprised.
I was very surprised.
I dropped little hints and you didn't know.
Yeah, well, you actually said her
I
name.
said her name.
But I didn't think you
did.
So what I did was, I was like, I forgot he like came at us a little bit, and I was like, we just need Anna Rosa back.
Oh, okay, that's so sweet. I was walking past the window here, and we totally made eye contact, right?
Yeah.
Like
But
you said, how did
it
you
was
not?
such a flash. Though.
I'm like, well, it's your old man vision.
That too.
Wow.
Usually when ARP comes to see me, it's a completely different organization.
Yeah, it's a different organization.
Oh my gosh. Well, you have to ask me why I'm here, right?
Well, catch us up.
Yes.
Why are you here? What's up?
So, of course, because I miss you guys. I just couldn't stay away, miss the station.
Stayed away for a year, but she's missed us. But go on.
Exactly. No, I couldn't stay away.
You didn't come one time during football season.
Okay,
not once. Not a hello.
Not true.
Not a hug.
That's not true. I was at one of the tailgates, but you were busy working.
I don't do the tailgates very much.
Exactly.
I'm working. Like I'm doing a pregame show.
Yeah. I came to a tailgate. I'll be back, though, especially for the A&M UT game next year.
Of course.
But I'm here recruiting for my company, Sendero Consulting, and just thought I'd stop by. My sister's also A&M, so just fun to get to see you guys. And
is she going to work here one day?
I would love if she did.
Yeah.
I don't know if she would like to be behind the mic. I'm not sure if that's her speed, but she loves sports. Played all of them in high school. So,
what kind of consulting do they do?
You know, have you ever seen the movie Office Space?
Of course, one of my favorite movies of all time. Yes.
Yeah. So what
TPS
is it
reports?
you do here? That's kind of,
How have you seen that movie?
Oh, my parents. I'm very well cultured. But it's management consulting, so just kind of depends on whatever the client needs, you know?
So that was shot in Dallas, by the way.
Was it really?
Yeah, on 6. If I remember correctly, the traffic scene in the beginning of that movie was on 635.
Okay. Wow. I didn't even know that. I mean, I obviously didn't pay that much attention to the movie when I was watching
like 4.
it. Yeah, but yeah, I do love Dallas. It's really fun. If y'all ever are there, you need to come by and see me. So
I'm going to be there in about 2 weeks.
For
what's going on?
What are you doing?
I'm going to see my brother and his wife are going to be celebrating
I'm going to be there
their 50th
too.
Anniversary.
In about, I think, the weekend A&M baseball's there in Arlington.
You going to go out there for that?
I have an appearance at the Angry Elephant at their Metroplex location that I'll be at, and I think Luch will be with me as well.
Of course he will.
Wow.
Yeah.
Luch is on to bigger and better things
He's
today.
in Vegas.
Yeah, in Vegas with the Kelseys.
Has he posted
stuff?
Oh,
he posted about the Kelseys. Yeah. That was like the first thing I saw this morning. I'm like, of course I won't see him because he's hanging with the Kelseys, as one does.
You're also part of team Taylor Swift, right?
I am. Yeah. Well, okay. I know that's not going to go over well here.
There isn't a lady under the age of 30 that's not all on Team Swift, I feel.
I mean, I'm not like obsessed with her, but I'm fascinated. Is that fair? I'm fascinated with like how powerful.
Imagine if he said that same line.
Well, yeah, that wouldn't go over well. But just how powerful and how much influence both her and Travis have. It's kind of crazy. So I keep up with it.
Yeah?
Yeah. You're not a fan?
No.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not. Didn't she make a whole lot of songs about just being pissed off because some guy broke up with her? And yet everybody always breaks up with her, so she must be the problem.
But everybody wants to date her.
And then everybody dumps her, so she must be the problem.
She might have a little bit of a problem, but she is a star. Hey,
she looks like Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh my gosh.
She looks like Napoleon Dynamite.
Somebody put a meme out and it had a picture of Napoleon Dynamite and her, and it says, Taylor Swift's actually Napoleon Dynamite in drag.
Wow. I have not seen that.
And it actually, you look at it, you go, oh, okay, I can see it.
So when you worked here, you used to do the word of the day.
Right.
By any chance, do you have a word that we can get the obster?
Yes. I had a feeling you would ask for this. So today's word of the day, you've definitely both heard it before, but it's not what you're expecting. It's Roman Empire.
Pardon?
Okay.
I mean, I understand.
You know
I know the Roman Empire.
I don't need to give a history lesson, right? Okay.
Right.
So Roman Empire kind of originated on TikTok, or I mean, just I feel like that's the origin of every.
It originated in Rome.
Well, okay, you're right about that. But the slang version of it originated when girls started asking guys, "How much do you think about the Roman Empire?" Right? And to their shocking response, so many guys think about the Roman Empire very often. They would say once a day, once a week. Just, we're not expecting those answers of why are they thinking about the Roman Empire this much. But from that,
I don't know if
also,
I follow.
first of all, do y'all think about the Roman Empire that much?
When I watch a movie that has
Okay,
the Roman
but
Empire
you're not
in
just
it.
thinking about it.
Never.
Okay. Well, apparently.
Do you think about the Cold War?
No, I don't really think about things like that.
Okay.
My mind is just like
global
happy.
warming?
No.
No?
No.
Oh.
I think about like Taylor Swift and, fun things.
Teddy bears.
Yeah, exactly. Rainbows.
Right.
Oh
my.
Sorry about that. But because of this, the word Roman Empire kind of originated from that. And so many people will say, what's your Roman Empire? What are you thinking about all the time? So
kids these days.
that's
bro.
what they say. This is kind of outdated too. So I was like,
It's
surely-
outdated?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Wouldn't you say?
Moss, have you ever heard that term or used that term?
I have heard of it. Unfortunately, I don't pride myself on my TikTok usage, but I have heard of the Roman Empire. Like my Roman Empire is the 2012 football season.
You think about that all the
That's
time?
good.
Yeah, Johnny Manziel. Who doesn't think about Johnny Manziel all the time for an Aggie?
I mean, I think about him a lot. I think about like making money. How am I going to pay the bills? That's what I think. That's my Roman Empire.
Have you heard the word rent-free?
Of course.
So it's kind of synonymous.
It's
to
similar to rent-free.
Yeah.
I think I like rent-free better.
I agree.
I wish I got rent-free.
That'd be great. I wouldn't
That would
own
be
a home.
nice.
Yeah. Why would you?
Yeah. If you were legal, you could get rent-free, but that's a whole different
Oh,
thing.
hey now. So,
So now I need to know what your Roman Empire is.
Yeah, what's your Roman Empire, bro?
What do you think about all the time? Actually, I don't know if I want to know.
I don't know if there's any one thing. Probably
your love for Irma.
Oh, so true.
Yeah, that's got to be way up there on the list. That might be my Ottoman Empire. I think a lot about. You know what I think probably the most about, besides A&M sports.
What's that?
Is how much money do I got to send to LSU this month?
Yes, see, we're on the same page. Anna Rose, I'm so happy you came by.
I'm glad to be
What's your
here. I
Roman
missed
Empire?
you guys. Probably
TexAgs.
right now, TexAgs, Travis Kelce and Taylor, you guys. Don't take that too
I didn't take it that
seriously.
way. Hey now. Let's concrete lifting and support. No, I'm kidding. Anna Rosa, thank you very much for coming by.
Thanks for having me. This
Appreciate
was fun.
you. We missed you, all right?
Yes.
Yes, we
Thank
do.
All
you.
right, I'll see
You don't have to
y'all
walk
later.
out. Let me do my spot. You
Okay.
say. You can laugh.
Okay.
All right. Ascend Concrete Lifting and Support, 979-933-8527. Don't replace it. Lift it. They're locally Aggie owned and operated. A concrete lifting and support company providing an easy, clean service at half the price of replacement. So if you've got a driveway issue where the concrete's kind of lifted and people can trip on it, they're trying to play basketball in the front yard, where you got old folks, your patio has the same situation. Instead of completely replacing your driveway or your patio, you can have it lifted, and it'll be seamless to the eye. It'll look completely like it's supposed to be flat in that area. Not a bad thing at all. That's what they do. They're on 60 years of professional construction experience. They can take care of you locally here in the Bryan College Station area, statewide, nationwide, 979-933-8527. They can stabilize any form of concrete or slab, and once the project is finished, the appearance is close to seamless to the eyes out there. They can take care of your house, commercial, industrial, municipal, road, streets, highways, you name it. Fraction of the cost of replacement. The number is 979-933-8527. 979-933-8527. Don't replace it. Lift it with Ascend Concrete Lifting and Support.
So at Tennessee.
Hey, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. I'm David Nuño. He's Olin Buchanan. Ryan Brauninger popping in to say hi.
In. It's a pop in.
What's up, buddy?
Pop in, pop up as we get ready for baseball season. Trying to make a seamless transition into baseball talk.
Well, we're going to be a week from today watching your team, Texas A&M, and your other team, McNeese.
Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool. Just, the place that thought I was decent enough to give me some scholarship money to play there. And then
that'll have you sing the national anthem for that game.
Or throw out the first pitch. I'm much more equipped to do that.
Or both.
Potentially. I don't know who's going to throw out the first pitch. There was talk of Mike Elko potentially doing it. I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay.
It'd be cool, though.
It'd be very good. What
Of course, his son's playing college baseball, so he might be more interested in flying out there to watch him play.
Did he go to Northwestern?
He did. He's at Richmond now.
Oh, he's a Spider.
Yep, Spider.
Okay.
So typically this is the time of year where I find out where you feel about this team. And I don't want to put too much pressure on what your expectations are because we got to see how they play out. But, have you been impressed from the training you've gone to?
Well, it just, they closed, Coach Schlossnagle closed the practices and scrimmages to media and everybody. That's new for him. But I think just as he wanted to kind of focus on the team and get everybody kind of zeroed in on the season, I don't. Every other sport has closed practices. Why should his be open all the time? You know what I'm saying? So I am looking forward to the open scrimmage on Tuesday. That it was supposed to be tomorrow, but they've moved it due to the weather. Look, I think I may have told you this walking around the office the other day. It's like when you, as an analyst, start making evaluations on a team, you do a disservice to your job, I think, if you let prior seasons or recent lack of success skew your vision. For instance, and this is something that is said a lot on our message boards, OB, I don't want to get excited for baseball because football and basketball have been a letdown.
Okay.
Well, that's fine for fans to think that way.
Defense mechanism by fans.
Right.
Yep.
It's that old battered Aggie syndrome coming back. But as an analyst, you have to look at things independently.
Sure.
Yes.
And you have to look at what do they have coming back, the overall talent level, the influx of talent, the new pitching coach. There's a lot that has to go into your preseason analysis. And I am not alone in thinking this because you can go across the multiple publications of college baseball and see where they have Texas A&M ranked going into the season. This team, as their overall talent level, their talent watermark is leaps and bounds better than anything Jim Schlossnagle has had here at Texas A&M. And I think you have to be above a certain talent watermark to win a national championship. This team is above that watermark without question. I thought the first year, that team that went to the Final Four, this is my opinion, and y'all may share it, they played above their head.
Absolutely.
They played above their talent level.
Which is what
last year, they played below their talent level. Would you agree?
100%.
So you just don't know going into the season. But to me, you have to meet the watermark to win a national championship in terms of talent and prospects on your team. And this year's team absolutely answers that question in the affirmative.
I agree. I think the first season is why we had so much more optimism last year because they did play so much above their head. And last year, they potentially could have, but the pitching was an issue.
That team that went to the Final Four, there was – yeah, they got some big pitching at times, but it's mainly just because such a powerful lineup, hitting lineup.
It was an really efficient lineup. You're right. There was some thunder in the middle, but remember what they did was they just ran up pitch counts and they got on base and they were pests.
So my question to you is, though, how do you envision the lineup this year compared to that one, at least in the power department?
Look, our preseason predictions are going to come out about this time next week from the people that cover baseball here. I'm really bullish on this team's power potential. I think they can set a school record for home runs. And that's not even me going – I don't think that's even outside of the realm of like whoa, like you predicted that. The record.
We talked about that last week in the lobby because I was like, I don't know, like 90, 100 home runs.
Well, let's just think about it. If you don't have to say all these guys play to their full potential and they have great seasons. If they just have good seasons, quality seasons, a good season for Jace Lavalette is how many homers?
More than 25?
25 to 30.
Okay.
He hit how many last year? 22?
21. Set the freshman record. It was funny because you had Kendall Rogers on here, and I'm not taking a jab at Kendall here. I just think he was just talking, and he was talking about, we think Jace, we're going to have him as a first-team All-American preseason and preseason All-SEC. We think he could hit 350 with another 20 homers, and I'm sitting there going, it's a math equation, like Michael Early said in my interview with him. Like, that's a math equation. If Jace Lavalette hits 350, Olin,
he's hitting 30 homers.
He'll hit 30 homers. So if you think he's going to do that, I don't think Jace will hit of that high of an average, but I do think he will climb that home run number closer to 25 or 30 this year. Braden Montgomery, if he has a good season, how many homers? 20?
20 is what I said.
Yeah. So there's 45 right there. You know how many they hit last year as a team? 86.
86, right. Grahovic?
I haven't even got Targash and the other guys in here.
Targash, Grahovic, Teddy Burton, Blake Benderup, who nobody really knows about, but if he plays to his potential, like there is of the starting 9, and if you assume Jackson Appel is your starting catcher, let's just do this. Let's not make any assumptions positionally. Let's just say the catching position split between Jackson Appel and Max Coffer and a little bit of Hank Bard, or the shortstop position split between Ali Camarillo, Caden Kent, and Jack Bell. Like, do those positions hit double-digit homers? Probably.
Right.
Maybe. But then, and that's not even – so there's 9 positions, and you start doing the home run math. Again, this is just fun to do in the preseason.
Right.
Nobody's predicting this stuff. Actually, I am going to predict them – I predicted them to tie the school record for home runs.
120?
125, I believe, is the record. But this could be – it's not could be. In terms of potential and talent, this is as good as an offense as I can ever remember on paper leading into a season for Texas A&M baseball. That 2015-2016 group with J.B. Moss and Nick Banks and Michael Barish, Hunter Melton, Boomer White, really good group. They were old, but in terms of overall ceiling of talent, this one is better. This one's better.
Are they going to be able to pitch?
Well, let's start with this, Olin. Do you think they'll set a school record for walks?
I think they will not.
Okay, so let's start there,
right?
And I'm actually in the middle of typing one of my preseason articles examining the pitching, and the new faces, whether they be from the portal or high school, are going to have an enormous influence on the outcomes of this team.
Absolutely.
But for me, one of the key pieces to unlocking this team's potential is the progression of the returning pitchers that did have some success last year or have at A&M, their progression under Max Weiner. And what happens if Ryan Prager takes the next step? Or Justin Lampkin and Evan Aschenbeck is, there's so much. Shane Sadeo, let me tell you this. That's a name on the pitching side and we haven't talked a ton of preseason stuff on here. Shane Sadeo has been sensationally good in the lead into the season on the mound. So much so that even as one of your most reliable bullpen arms coming back from last year, he's forcing himself into that weekend discussion in terms of being one of the starters. So, all those guys, I think they could have as much of an influence on this team's success as Jace Lavalette and Braden Montgomery, to me.
Matt Tackle says if Jace hits 35 homers this year, they'll rename the ballpark after him.
I know, but, I don't think Jace will do that. I wouldn't put that number that high, but if he climbs toward 25.
He's going to start getting walked a lot.
And that's where, when you start doing lineup management, and the more I think about it, you know where I think they hit Jace Lavalette?
Third?
Second.
I
think they'll hit him second. Because if you hit him third, you'll probably have a freshman behind him.
Yeah.
And and Gavin Grahovic, I really hope, OB, that he plays to the level that he's been practicing at, because it is an absolute treat to watch that guy play baseball.
Give me your guess of a starting the batting order then, if you think Lavalette could be second.
If Jace is going to hit second, I think they're going to lead off with either Jackson Appel or Teddy Burton, and the other one will hit ninth.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think Appel, Burton, leadoff.
Okay.
2, Jace. 3, Braden Montgomery. 4, Grahovic. 5, Hayden Schott, who can really hit.
Okay.
6, Ryan Targach.
Yep.
7, Blake Benderup. 8, whoever wins the shortstop battle, I'm leaning toward Ali Camarillo. And 9 would be Burton or Appel. And then the Jack Bell kid is
legit.
He's really good too.
What about the rotation?
I think it'll go, assuming all these guys are healthy. Again, the practices have been closed, so I don't have as much information as I typically would, and I'm fine with that. I'm really, honestly, I'm fine with that. I think it'll go Prager on Friday, Lampkin on Saturday, and Tanner Jones on Sunday.
Okay.
Now, if he wants to change it and go right, left, right, or left, right, left, it'd be Prager, Tanner Jones, Justin Lampkin.
Midweek?
Midweek's going to be interesting because I think one of those freshmen might get one of them early in the year, and then maybe a Chris Cortez gets another one, because I still think you want to start Cortez to get him some confidence and let him work through things. When you bring in a guy that's had troubles with location and throwing the ball in the strike zone in the past, when you bring him in out of the bullpen, you have to have a much shorter leash, right?
Yeah.
So if you trot him out there early in the year as a starter, potentially in the midweek, it allows you to have a little bit longer leash to let him work through some things.
How much would you guess Montgomery's going to pitch? Because isn't that one
How
of
do you
the
want to
reasons
put,
he came here?
Yeah, but how do you want me to put I think he'll pitch some. Maybe not a lot, but I think he'll pitch some, and it's definitely in their plans to pitch him. And he was, from what I've been told, was outstanding in his last appearance on the mound, like the best he's looked. But man, like on a certain level for the team, it's like I want Braden to do that because Braden wants to do that, and he's good at it, and he's an effective power 5 arm. But in the batter's box and in right field, he is, even to the novice baseball watcher, you're going to go out there and say, that kid, it looks different. It looks like a big leaguer.
Sounds like it's going to be a tough ticket.
We got to hit a break here. Bronny, thank you very much, buddy.
Yep, thank you for having me in. Yep.
By the way, Water Turkey says Office Space was filmed in Austin, not Dallas, so I have to fact check that. All right, thank you very much. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with, what are we going to do, OB? Do you remember what we got going on? Bank on it. There we go. Thank you, Nick. We're going to bank on something next. It's TexAgs. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, coming to a close here. Brought to you by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon never looked so good with Maroon U. I got this actually at CC Creations, this little TexAgs shirt.
Looks like kind of something you wear under a baseball jersey.
Or just trying to be hip, bro. Just trying to be hip. Bank on It time, presented by Vera Bank. Authentic, relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more at verabank.com. What are you banking on?
Well, I think after listening to Brauninger, I'm just banking on making reservations for Omaha in June. Omaha. I'm like Peyton Manning. I'm banking on Boots to go out. I don't know if it's going to be enough to beat Tennessee, but I'm banking on Boots they like to use the word turkey for 3 defenses.
Yep.
I think he's going to have a turkey in terms of 3 20-point games in a row.
I'm going to drink the Maroon TexAgs coffee. Beat the hell out of the morning, by the way. And I'm going to tell you A&M's going to beat Tennessee, and I'm going to tell you why.
Tell me.
All right. They're 4 points away from a 7-game win streak.
It's true.
Right? The Ole Miss game came down to 3. The Arkansas game down to 1. Tennessee is not a good rebounding team. A&M is one of the best out there. Tennessee fouls a lot. A&M gets to the line a lot. They got to hit them. And the big thing in this one is Tennessee's very good defensively in the paint. Can A&M score in transition, and can they hit a couple of threes that they typically don't? If they hit 6 a game, can they make it 7 or 8? If they do that, they win at home. Tennessee loses to A&M at Reed Arena. Banking on that.
I hope your analysis is correct.
Look, it may be Maroon coffee. I don't care. I feel good about the way the team has played recently. And yes, I'm reading way too much into an 0-10 Missouri victory. I get it. It's the way they played, OB, that got my attention.
Oh, yeah. And you still go back to the Florida game, and they played well against Florida.
They did.
So I hope you're right. I just think that this is and I think it's one of those games that if you win, you're in the NCAA tournament if you beat Tennessee, provided you don't just tank the rest of the year. But if you can beat Tennessee and then beat the teams you're just supposed to play, you're in.
Right.
I mean, the teams you're supposed to beat.
We'll be back. Bye. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in this morning. Let's go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline. And that's where we find my buddy Mark French, who was here last week. He got to come in, watch a little Aggie practice, hang out with us here in studio. What's up, Mark? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. Good morning to you. Good to be with you.
Well, thanks for joining us here. Let's chit-chat a little bit about Logan made fun of me a moment ago. He sent me a text, right? Because I'm on this Maroon train, right? I'm drinking the Maroon Kool-Aid right now because, look, I don't know how they're going to finish the rest of the way, but I am encouraged the way A&M basketball is playing at the moment. I'm encouraged with what I'm seeing. I'm trying not to overrate a victory over a bad Missouri team. But I think what I've seen in the last few games is A&M, even in the Ole Miss game, other than the collapse, they're playing more their brand of basketball. Am I wrong?
No, I think playing their brand of basketball is 100% correct. And just what a difference a week can make, and it's I think it's a testament to how volatile this college basketball can be. And anytime there's 18 to 24-year-old kids involved and there's, referees involved and road atmospheres, and there's so many things that go into this, and the margins are so fragile that we as fans oftentimes, I think, can certainly overreact or get swept up in the flow of negativity or positivity, right, Nuño? Right. And I think really if you want to sift through it, you got to look for the consistency. And really since Kentucky, we're 5-2, and both losses were by 3 points or less. There's a lot to be really positive about, and I'm pretty juiced up for tomorrow. I just know what the atmosphere is going to be like, and hopefully it'll be a sellout, and it'll be the main ESPN game of the day. We actually have 3 main ESPN, so not ESPN2, but 3 main ESPN games coming up the rest of the way, plus a CBS game, which is always my favorite because I love listening to Jay Wright talk hoops. But I'm really excited. They got to 5-4 in conference now with a big Tennessee game coming up, and then some winnable games down the stretch. So I think they certainly turned a corner, and hopefully we can talk about some of these guys because there were some outstanding performances and also just microcosm plays that I would love to get into.
Well, Logan actually just texted me. He says, I'm not making fun of you. I just want what you're drinking because he's all in when it comes to the way they're playing basketball recently. So when we first started doing these hits this year, we had these Elite 8 checkpoints. I know we're far away from Elite 8 checkpoints. But just for conversation's sake, let's just say they win this weekend. Are we back on to maybe thinking, all right, this team is still possible to reach a lot of the goals that we had initially had, even if the standings don't look the way we had initially wanted?
Yeah, I think framing is really important, and I think the way we framed it at the beginning of the year is we saw the potential because particularly the guard play and Wade to, why couldn't this team be in a Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, dark horse, right? And that's really exciting to talk about. And I think a lot of the fan base perhaps took that and ran with it as gospel. And really that was just us praising the program for where it's at and, the players on the roster and really what we thought of the backcourt along with some of the, the front court guys returning. And so it's super exciting. And I do think, I certainly think that Texas A&M is in position to make a run in March if they continue playing like they are right now. And, particularly Boots, I'm so proud of him for blocking out the noise. Andy is probably my new favorite player, regardless of sport, regardless of college or pro, to watch right now. It is absolutely unbelievable what that kid is doing. And then same thing with Solo. He's just I can't help but root for him. So I think there's so much, there's a lot of forward momentum right now. And I think what you want to do is you want to lean into that. And you want to, this will be one of the biggest games that we've had at Reed over the last few years. I mean, just because of where Tennessee's ranked, how we're kind of trending in the right direction. It's a really big game, and it's super exciting. So I certainly think that everything, I guess what I could say is this, everything that this team wants to accomplish is ahead of it now. And they've kind of positioned themselves and stabilized themselves to get back into that top quarter, those top 2 or 3 spots in the SEC. And really, you're positioning yourself to hopefully make a run in March. And I'm really excited to see where it all goes.
So the way Boots is playing, it looks different. It looks to be what Boots has always done. What do you think happened there? Was it he finally got a little bit of healthy and he's like, all right, let's go do what I do? Because Boots attacking opens up so much for Wade.
Yeah, I think some of it was injury that we may not have heard about, on the fan or reporting side. And, sometimes there's just little nicks and stuff. And if you look at him now, there's a twitch, there's an explosion, there's just a vibe about him that he just looks like the Boots we all know and love. And, I think he's had 20 points in consecutive games now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he just, man, is he efficient too. Like when he gets downhill, like something good almost always happens. And you try to cut him off from going left. He takes it back to the right, but he can always get back to the left. It's really, really impressive. And he's so fun to watch, man. We have maybe the best guard duo in the entire conference. We're really blessed.
As the season goes on, we see certain things happen to a Buzz Williams-led A&M team, right? And I always bring up the 3 seasons that I've watched up close because, other than the Billy years, I'm watching it here, and I'm seeing it like you had Q in 21, who was given the keys to the Ferrari. Last year,
yep.
Wade was given the keys to the Ferrari right around now. And I assume, especially after talking to some of our other analysts, Logan and Tom Schubert, that it's still Wade's team, right? But the offensive wrinkle of let's see what happens with Boots being, I don't want to call it the primary ball handler, but a primary ball handler.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive. So, think about, a lot of these teams that have gone deep in March before, they'll play 2 point guards, or they'll play two primary ball handlers, right? I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a wonderful thing. And to Wade's credit, I think he's fine with it. If Boots is going off, hey man, Boots, do your thing, bro. Like you're tearing it up. Let's feed the hot hand. But I think from Boots' perspective, he still needs Wade to do well because Wade's always going to be the primary scout on the scouting report. He's always the primary guy that the other teams are worried about because he can go get 30. We've seen him go get 40. He's unbelievable, right? And so what that does is it allows Boot to kind of slide into that secondary, a second primary ball handler, I guess would be the best way to say it. And it's just a wonderful fit, just in terms of how they complement each other and how they complement what Buzz and his staff want to do, and in terms of getting downhill, crashing the glass. When they get downhill, what does that allow? The help defender, the center has to come over and try to contest. Well, that leaves the backside open for Solo, Andy, and Henry to go get offensive boards and putbacks. So it all ties in together, and it's really flowing right now well.
When we were doing our Bank on It segment with Olin Buchanan, I think A&M's going to win this game. But to me, a couple of things that has to happen, actually was earlier in the show, was I want them to take less threes, and they've been doing that recently, but they got to make more threes, right? To beat Tennessee, I think that is going to be a key to it. Can they not go above 15-ish, unless they're hitting? If they're hitting all day, right? But I'm just saying, if they continue to be a 30% to below three-point shooting team, can they keep it to about, 15? And if they can make more than their typical makes, which is, I think, 6 a game, if they can make 7 to 8 in this game, I like their chances.
Yeah, I think the one stat I would keep an eye on is turnovers. Tennessee can play traditionally. I haven't followed them. I've seen some of their games this year. I haven't watched every game. But traditionally, they're going to play an aggressive style of ball, especially defensively, and then they're going to attack you on offense. And I think for me, it's shooting that's fine. We can talk about that. But really, it's about not turning the ball over, I think, is maybe the more pertinent question with this group. And they've done an unbelievable job over the last the last few games. I was looking, I think they had 9 turnovers against Missouri. I'd have to go back and look at the game before that. But if they can be under 10 turnovers, like, this is going to be a really hard out. Like, they're tough, man. Like, so I think that would be the stat I really look at is, you know, are they under 12 turnovers, right? Or 11 turnovers, somewhere in there to ballpark it. And then I think the threes are going to come. I think especially as the games get bigger, the brights get lighter. You know, I think Wade, Boots, some of these guys, Jace Carter, who I hope we can get to talk about because his confidence is just blossoming. He's like, he fits now. It's working unbelievably, and you can see all the work that kid's been putting in. And so I think the shooting is going to be fine. I think whether Texas A&M can make deep run into March like we're all rooting for them, it'll come down to, hey, man, just take care of the ball because everything else will fall into place.
Well, let's look at those numbers right there, 6.8 points per game, but recently it's been trending up. If he can get closer to the 9.5, 10 points per game and get that 3-point percentage to be closer to 26, 28%, is at 20% right now, I think that would make a huge difference. And look, it sounds like I'm asking for a lot, but this is a guy who's done it at other stops.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a guy who averaged almost 20 points a game last year. He's, you know, sitting at about 7 points, 5 rebounds this year. But I don't really care about any of the numbers. I'm watching it, and the eye test is like he's passing it. And it looks like he has finally settled in, and he's established himself as one of the top guys here. And I am so excited about this kid. And if you just watch the way he, like, really conducts himself, goes about his business. You know, I was lifting in the weight room last Friday, and he was there at, you know, 1 p.m. before film, and before practice, getting shots and getting individual skill work in. And so these are these little things that you can see, but I just love his shooting motion. I love his defensive presence. And I love really just how he fits within the puzzle. And I think he's a guy that can be in the corner or be on the wing, and when Wade or Boots drive, they can kick it, and they expect him to, you know, think he's going to make it and put it in. And so really valuable piece. And I also think there's a maturity aspect with him. He's a junior by class. He's been through some wars, obviously not at this level, but I think it just means a lot to him. And I don't think you can't hide that kind of thing. Like you just tell, like, he cares. And if I want to play with guys who care, and he clearly does.
How about the 48 points in the paint against Missouri, just attacking? And when you think about points in the paint, you think about, like, big post players and whatnot, but we're talking about Boots. We're talking about everybody kind of contributing to that number.
Yeah, I mean, they're really good at getting downhill. So it's anytime your two lead guards can get into the paint anytime they want. Again, like I said, it may not be them making a layup, although a lot of times it is. But on the other side of the coin, it's even if they miss that layup, we're in position offensive rebound and get a nice little putback layup, or get fouled and go to the line. And I really think the formula is offensively is centered around that, and they're doing a wonderful job right now.
Hey, Bob in Kentucky sends this text here, and I'm going to read it out loud to you. It says, Nuño, have you noticed how many losses the top 25 teams have? Once you get past UConn and Purdue, it says to me parity rules, and the tourney will be nuts.
I couldn't agree more. I think, and we've talked about this, right, is with the transfer portal and with these guys kind of moving around, and the big school, in the G League, and guys going over to play in Australia that might be in college, like the parity has never been higher. And, even looking at the SEC standings, we're just a game or two away from being in second, third place, first place. And so obviously South Carolina's been a big surprise, but I mean, Auburn, we played them well at their place. Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, we already beat them, beat Florida. Like, to me, this thing's wide open. And that's, again, why I would just caution all the fans there's no reason to panic. Buzz's teams are going to finish strong down the stretch. I think last week it was 28-13, 28-14 in February and March, if you take out the COVID year. So now he's sitting at, 30-13, something like that, 30-14 in February and March, which is unbelievable when you consider that's all conference play. And so I think the parity is really high, and I think just get to the tournament, get a reasonable seed, and let's go make a run at this thing, because there's not many teams that when they're clicking can beat us. When we're clicking that we're gonna have a ton of trouble with. So it's really about us and just keeping everybody healthy and continuing to pursue all this stuff that is going in the right direction.
Because I'm a cautious, optimistic Aggie, I should say. I look at that schedule and I look at the games that they gotta have, and there's a few games on that schedule, if Nick can pull it up, that they got to have, right? And then if they take care of those games, you've got to beat one of the teams that's ahead of you. And if you do that, you're sitting pretty in the tournament. So you look at what's ahead. If you can somehow, over the next 3 games, win 2 of those 3, right? Which I don't think is ridiculous to ask for. You take care of business against Arkansas. You take care of business against Georgia, Mississippi State. And you got to win something else. Now you're thinking, all right, well, this team is kind of moving up the bracketology.
Yeah, I mean, the beautiful thing about this league is that there's going to be quad one opportunities almost every night. And so, yeah, like you said, I mean, the Vandy, Arkansas, although that's kind of that's always a tough game just because of how the history of that series goes. But Vandy, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi State. Mississippi State's good though. I would caution everybody. They're dangerous, and Georgia can be too. So it's like there's not I wouldn't say there's an easy game, but I think it's really just a product of us just being pretty good. That makes us feel that way. And look, I think A&M's going to be completely fine. And I would like to focus in on one play that happened at Missouri the other night that led me to believe that point, and it's this. There was a loose ball. Andy Garcia, my new favorite player, he dives on the floor. Their guy doesn't. Andy turns, kind of punches it out to the wing, and it does a couple, bounces. I think it goes to Wade, and then there was a short pick and roll, and Andy caught it at in the paint off of his pick, and then he could have dunked it or tried to lay it in, but he kicked it out to Boots for the 3. And it was like this beautiful representation of everything that A&M wants to be about, and it was a beautiful representation of how A&M can make a deep run in March and how they can climb this conference standings like they have in recent years down the stretch. And I just looked at the screen. I was like, wow, that was unbelievable. The way that kid plays his heart out, and he's so unselfish. And I really, really, truly believe in my heart of hearts that as good as Wade and Boots are going to be, this season in so many aspects is being impacted by Andy Garcia and plays like that. Solo has a couple of those every game too, especially defensively. But there's this stuff that doesn't show up in the box score, but when you watch it, it is so impactful. And that's what really leads me to believe. I can't tell you which games they're going to win or which games they're going to lose or which games they should win or should lose because they're all formidable opponents. But what I can tell you is if they have that spirit that Andy plays with and that Solo plays with and the confidence that Wade plays with and the confidence that Boots plays with and the maturity that Henry has and Jace has, and you kind of combine all that and maybe you get a little extra sauce elsewhere, you're going to have a really nice recipe for winning a lot of games here over the next 30 to 60 days. And so I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah. All right. So let's just close out with this. They beat Tennessee, right? If they beat Tennessee, but they beat Tennessee, then what?
And then you're starting to, why aren't we ranked? Look at what we've done, since Kentucky. You're looking at, all right, we had Arkansas game where we were up on them down the stretch and Ole Miss. So, really, we've been in control of every single game since Kentucky. And I don't know what the advanced metrics would show and all that. that stuff is a maze to me at times. But all I know is you go and beat Tennessee, you're going to climb back into the top 25, and you're going to put everyone on notice saying, holy cow, I don't want to play this team down the stretch. They're, truly be one of the hottest and most dangerous teams in the country as we get in deeper into conference play.
Mark, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, let's go get a win tomorrow.
Yes,
Bye.
sir. Mark French there on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Around the SEC. Right now, we're doing Milliken Reserve, a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes. Yes, they got homes. They got trails. They got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature, and they've done that by creating a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community. You go out there, you're going to enjoy your time with your family. You can go out there, just do the hiking, the biking, the canoeing, the kayaking. You can do the equestrian trails. You can do the farmer markets, the farm tours, the evening yoga, you name it. They've got so many different things you can do there. But you can also buy a house there and love the area. It's a place you go outside and just have a good old time. You can live and just be part of nature. And when you live there, you got 3 awesome neighborhoods to talk about. You got the creek, you got the hollow, you got the meadows. The creek has a 10-plus acre wooded estate. You've got the hollow in a private gated community, and the meadows that are responsive to their natural surroundings. You can learn more about all this stuff at millikenreserve.com. Again, that website is millikenreserve.com. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is time to do a little Around the SEC. Let's go to it right now. Jackson Moss, what do you got for us, buddy?
So the SEC will be well represented in this year's Super Bowl. Between both of the teams, there are currently 24 former SEC players on the rosters. And actually, here's a fun fact. 13 SEC schools will have at least one former player represented in the Super Bowl. Georgia and LSU are tied for the nation's longest active streak of 23 consecutive seasons with at least one former player on one of the Super Bowl rosters. And then in baseball, the 2024 SEC preseason poll has been released, and the Aggies are ranked at number 3 in the poll behind LSU and Arkansas. Aggie outfielder Jace Lavalette was selected to the 2024 SEC Baseball Coaches preseason All-SEC first team, alongside other Aggie outfielder Brady Montgomery, who was selected to the second team. And then 4 SEC women's tennis teams begin play in ITA team indoors today at 9 a.m., which we're 20 minutes past now, I think. But the SEC and Pac-12 are currently tied for the most teams are represented in the indoor championships, finishing just one above the ACC, which has 3 teams represented this year. And finally, money from the 2023 football season has been distributed amongst all 14 SEC teams. The SEC had a total revenue of nearly $853 million for a year, ending in August 31st, 2023, about $50 million more, or 6%, than its total for 2022. This resulted in an average of being about $51.3 million being distributed to each of its 14 member schools. And then obviously I imagine this is going to continue to go up and grow with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, only to keep increasing.
Absolutely. And OB had a funny line earlier. It was like, you got enough to almost pay off Jimbo's contract. So good times. Let's just what else do you have for us, Jackson?
That's about all I got right now for SEC.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Any text messages you want to get into before we get to Dane Bradshaw to talk a little SEC basketball from the SEC Network?
Yeah, actually, I thought this one from Matt in San Antonio was pretty funny. My Roman Empire's Elko's great job of getting Ashton, Bussy, and Borden signed Wednesday.
Yeah. Look, I never felt uncomfortable with it. Just, again, if you read the tea leaves from Lucci, from Jason Howell, and obviously from Ryan Brauninger, they all felt good. Now, crazy things happen on signing day. Crazy things do happen, but I felt really good. And again, it's one of those things that I remember way back. I shouldn't even mention this to about Bronny, but I remember way back before Elko was named as a candidate. I think Jimbo might have still been coach. He was like, dude, Elko, if he was our guy, recruiting would be crazy. He goes, I know that people have talked about on the boards. They don't know what kind of recruiter he is. He is fantastic. And you know what he did? He delivered. He did exactly that. And one of the conversations I was having last night at the 12th Man Foundation dinner, we're just talking to a bunch of donors, was like, you cannot evaluate his job or any job based on just one metric, because the entire thing has to be taken into account. You have to consider the roster retention, and everybody focuses on the big names that left. But yeah, roster retention is a huge part of the evaluation. Look who stayed, the important pieces that stayed, some of the names that people expected to leave, some of the names that left for a moment and came right back. So roster retention, obviously the high school recruiting aspect of it, and that's hard to do. As Coach Elko phrased it, 2 years of work being done at other places I had to do in 2.5 months, and how good he did there. And obviously the transfer portal. And the transfer portal thing for at least this first year is one of the big parts of why, a lot of those holes that were out there will absolutely be filled, right? No doubt about that. We're going to hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Dane Bradshaw, SEC Network, and ESPN, we'll get his thoughts. He was on the call against A&M versus Missouri, and we'll talk to him a little bit about that game and just what he has seen from A&M so far. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. They have amazing deals on their website that change from month to month. They have excellent service from before and after the sale. So when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet, first off, you should absolutely start online to find the vehicle that you're looking for. That's where you start the search. But when you go in person and you see the amazing selection there and you get the great customer service and you find out about the great trade-in value that you're going to get, you're going to be like, all right, this is the place I'm going to do the job. And then the question becomes just which vehicle fits your needs the most. You all have needs for a car, right? It may be a big vehicle. It may need to be a faster vehicle. It may need to be a truck. And at Caldwell Country Chevrolet, they're going to find the right vehicle for you at the right time, at the right price. That's what they do there. They take care of everybody that goes, and it's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the very edge of Bryan to the beginning of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you will see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We're presented by David Gardner Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline, talk to one of our favorites. Dane Bradshaw is on here with us to talk a little bit about A&M, SEC basketball, you name it. He played at Tennessee. You see him on the SEC Network and ESPN. And he had the call the other night, A&M, Missouri. Dane, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great. Good to be back on with you guys. How are you?
Doing well, man. Thanks so much. So, watching A&M against Missouri, I keep saying it like this, and tell me if I'm on the right track. I'm not going to read too much into beating a Missouri team that hasn't played very well this season. But the way A&M played, to me, is what's been encouraging the last couple games, even before the Florida game.
I totally agree. Look, they've been battle tested. They've had some things go against them. The old adage that they've faced adversity. They've gone through kind of a lot this year And I actually picked them to win the league early on. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but it was because of the backcourt play and the identity they have as a team, their defensive tactics. Even though losing Julius Marble early on, that obviously didn't help the front court situation, but Garcia and guys like that are stepping up. And we've seen them really have their way late in the past couple seasons within the league. And so I think they've got a really good game plan. And I think they've been able to kind of fly under the radar a little bit this season, even though there was a lot of hype coming into the year. But with the way Auburn's playing, and then in Alabama, and then you got the Kentucky with all the freshmen, and Tennessee with Dalton Connect, I think that's been a good thing for Texas A&M. They've kind of been able to just kind of slowly but surely get better, win some of these close games, and they're probably the least talked about top tier team in the league right now.
To me, they've had so many issues getting consistency in the lineup, and you mentioned the Marble situation. Boots Radford playing a little bit more like we are used to seeing him play, I think has made all the difference in the world for them offensively. And in turn, I think the defense has stepped up because the offense is providing more spark.
Yeah, 100%. And Radford being more consistent, finishing at the rim and getting those percentages up a little bit, because as good as they are at getting the free throw line, the offensive rebound, it can't just be that. And so I think that's where a lot of teams were kind of hesitant to buy in on Texas A&M, was you're like, man, this is just so non-aesthetically pleasing watching two guards. I know it's more complicated than this, but it looked kind of like a your turn, my turn type offense. And it wasn't looking very well. And yet now they're starting to get in a rhythm, get that confidence going. And I tell you, just being around them a couple times, this is an excited locker room, an excited team. You see chemistry there on and off the court. You see the personalities, and I think they're an extremely close team, and that should bode well for them as the season goes on.
Dane, I think Boots' resurgence has also had an effect on Wade Taylor, and I mean it multiple ways. It allows for some of the pressure to be off of Wade, and also he's getting some more looks now.
Yeah, he is, and he doesn't have to carry the team, but they're always in the attack mindset. And gosh, if I'm Wade Taylor, I'm loving playing for Buzz Williams, because he's going to let me play through mistakes. I'm going to take some shots that maybe are questionable, but the good news is my teammates are going to get the rebound anyway, and I'm not going to get taken out of the game. And so, but when you're a 6-foot guard that's had to sort of overachieve, if you will, throughout your career and been overlooked, you got to have that confidence and that swagger. And I think the way they complement one another in the backcourt, to where we saw it multiple times against Missouri, even though they're not the best example. But when you have to close out and you have so much attention on Taylor, and then they get a little bit of penetration and then kick it out to Radford, now he's a whole different type of guard going downhill. It just makes it challenging for a defense to lock down, stay in front of those guys, and when you're having to defend those guys multiple times within the same possession. But I think this Tennessee one, I'm sure you'll get to. I'm really anxious to see this game. I think if I had to predict a team going deeper in March, it'd be Tennessee. If I had to predict a team, to win the SEC title, it'd certainly be Tennessee. But I really like the way Texas A&M can ugly the game up, and we've seen Tennessee have some of these scoring droughts, and so that's really piquing my interest to see if Texas A&M can't surprise some folks and win this one on their home court.
Well, I agree with you, everything you said about Tennessee there. What makes them so good? And then I'll follow that up with what makes them maybe a little vulnerable.
Yeah, their defense is as good as it's ever been, and that's what everybody always has known about Rick Barnes' team is their defense is going to be there. They're going to be tough, tenacious, but is their offense going to put so much pressure on their defense to win games? And that's where last couple of years their offense has been so Jekyll and Hyde that they've just been hard to trust. They've had a couple slip-ups here and there this year, but it's not nearly like when you say Jekyll and Hyde about Tennessee's offense this year, you're really just pulling something out of the past couple of years because you've got some PTSD there. The truth is this year they've been far more consistent because of Dalton Connect being able to get them and save them in those scoring droughts. And then here recently, sparked by that win at Rupp Arena, they didn't have to wait on Dalton Connect to score 30 and be Superman. They had balanced attack, and that's what people loved about this team going in, was the veterans that they had with Vescovy, James, and of course a healthy point guard Ziegler, who came off an ACL injury last year, who's going to just be a complete pest against Texas A&M.
So I read this, and I haven't seen it myself, but if there's an area of their defense that might struggle is giving up three-point shots. A&M is not a very good three-point shooting team, but it could come down to A&M maybe not shooting as many as they've shot in the past and making maybe one or two more.
Yeah, and Texas A&M's strategy of those offensive rebounds, of course, and getting to the free throw line. I do think Tennessee has gotten better at defending without fouling, even though they're extremely physical. And they've got some big bodies down low that I don't think that A&M is going to have as much luck of just kind of punking them down low on the offensive glass. Now, they might turn around and put up 20 offensive boards and 30 second chance points. I don't know. But with that in mind, given the physicality of Tennessee, the fact that they've got some guys that aren't SEC headline type players, Jonas Adu down low, Tobe Awaka, guys that maybe your fan base hadn't even really heard of or paid attention to. But those are difference makers on the glass for Tennessee. And so Texas A&M is going to have to shoot a more efficient clip from three, as you mentioned, and not just rely on those second chance opportunities.
So not that I expect you to know A&M's schedule on the top of your head, but they do play Tennessee a couple times. They do have Alabama coming ahead. The SEC in general is a grind. We know that. They don't get Missouri anymore the rest of the way. So how important is this next little stretch that does include Alabama, does include Tennessee twice? Like it's a big one.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here. Yeah, you've got away Alabama, away Tennessee, away Ole Miss, which is becoming one of the tougher places to play right now. So, yeah, all the more important reason to defend your home court, which I think they've got a really good opportunity to do here against Tennessee. And I would expect this one to be, coming down the last couple minutes. And I think probably in the 70s, probably a little bit better for them. But either way, I think you're going to see talent all over the court, energy, effort. Might be ugly. And if it's a 70-plus free throw game, I think that's in favor of Texas A&M. But I think Tennessee's probably going to avoid putting them on the stripe as much as Texas A&M is accustomed to.
How surprising is this South Carolina season? I mean, they're up top, they're playing great, and that's the place that you go play there. It's hard to win.
Man, yeah, it's. I'm trying to think back of when the last time a team was picked to finish that far, or that behind the pack towards the bottom of the SEC like South Carolina was. Because when I look back at Tennessee, for example, Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, when they first came on the scene, they were picked to finish 13th, I believe, in the league. And I know that was a slight to them, but they weren't picked to finish 13th because nobody thought they were any good. It was just the league was so deep. You're like, all right, well, where do we put these guys? And so it was a surprise for them to finish at the top of the league that year. A little bit, but you weren't surprised that they were competitive. With South Carolina, I don't think anybody thought if they could finish top 10, you would have tipped your cap and said, man, what a job by Lamont Paris. To be in the position they are now, to possibly win an SEC title, and the way they're doing it, you can just see their identity, their coaching, their execution, all those things on the court, because I don't see an NBA player out there for South Carolina. And yet here they are coming together to take down NBA talent night in, night out. And it's just, I can't say enough about those guys and the way they bought in defensively. They're extremely patient on offense. And Lamont Paris there's plenty of reasons that he's up for National Coach of the Year.
8 or 9 teams from the SEC you think make the tournament?
I'll lean towards 9.
Okay.
There's a lot of bubble teams there, but as I'm sure you guys have discussed too, there's not as many landmines. Like you look in the ACC, they got some bubble teams too, but boy, is that schedule filtered with landmines because of how low their net is in the non-conference lack of performance that the ACC had. So the SEC scheduling and the non-conference has allowed for these multiple opportunities to where even if you lose 3 in a row in the SEC, you're losing them all to quality, quad 1, quad 2 type games for the most part.
Talking to Dane Bradshaw here on TexAgs Radio. Iron Bowl, if you will, for the basketball side of things, really kind of reshaped the way we look at the standings there. Talk a little bit about Auburn, the way they've kind of backed seized control again with Tennessee right behind.
Yeah, and Alabama was playing some of their best defense of the season. That had been their kryptonite, was they were explosive on offense, but they just didn't have the defense to play that complementary basketball, and they were starting to really click. And yet Auburn is able to get to the free throw line a ton, They play obviously extremely well at Neville Arena and put up 99 points on an Alabama team that was starting to find their identity defensively. That's now waking up saying, "Man, we got to get back to the drawing board some." So, yeah, just a great rivalry there. It's what makes the SEC and college sports even better. And I think right now, neutral site. It's you got Auburn, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina. I mean, the SEC tournament is going to be phenomenal, and Texas A&M has got to be in that mix. Every time somebody asks me, all right, who are the teams nobody's talking about enough that could possibly win the SEC tournament? A&M and Florida are the two teams. I'm like, hey, they're not at the top tier right now because of some of the close losses they've had, but man, the margin is and the gap is not that wide between Florida and A&M, as you guys obviously had a very close game there to see, and what everybody else is referring to as the top tier.
Dane, last thing for you. Rick Pitino says there needs to be a salary cap in college basketball, maybe in all of college sports. Well, what do you think about that?
I haven't been able to dive deep into it enough. I know the SEC just got $51 million, or each school in the SEC just got a $51 million distribution. So there's money out there, and trying to figure out the best way to approach it is certainly above my pay grade. But look, I think I'm happy for the athletes. I'm happy for the opportunities they're getting. I do wish there were some guardrails. I don't like seeing 4 schools in 4 years. And yeah, every time there's an objection, it's, oh, well, it's best for the athlete, this and that. You're holding them back. Well, look, I mean, the NBA right now doesn't allow guys to go straight from high school to the NBA. Like, that's millions of dollars being restricted from some of these athletes that could have done it. And you can't tell me, well, go make money in college. That's a fraction of what they could get drafted for. So sometimes rules are in place just because there are rules. And I'm not saying that they should be burdensome to the athlete, but I just wish there were opportunities there to, while I want athletes to have the chance to go places, make money, and if the environment's not right. But man, do I tend to agree with some of these coaches when they say guys are just running from the problem in this speed dating type culture that you're seeing amongst college athletes. When you go back, what are you an alum of? Like, where are your connections at? And that's something I really value when I get a chance to go back to Tennessee, that I want others to have the same privilege.
Dane, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for making time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care. Dane Bradshaw there on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come around with Around Aggieland, but right now we're talking about the 12 under 12. Did you or someone you know graduate from Texas A&M within the last 12 years, and are you leading by example in business or in service? If so, the Association of Former Students would like to invite you to nominate yourself or someone you know for the 12 under 12 Young Alumni Spotlight. So each year, the association recognizes a dozen Aggies who have graduated within the last 12 years for their business accomplishments, civic or military service, philanthropic efforts, outstanding representation of A&M's core values, integrity, leadership, loyalty, excellence, respect, and selfless service. Previous year honorees have included leaders in business and higher education, architects, petroleum engineers, nonprofit executives, physicians, veterans, and members of the U.S. Armed Forces. 2024 nominations close Sunday, March 31st. Be sure to submit a nomination ASAP. To learn more about the recognition and submit a nomination, visit tx.ag/12 under 12 nominations. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. You like that?
A little bit, yeah.
That's good.
It was kind of a vibe going in.
Hey, how are you, Kay Naegeli?
I am great. I am.
Your voice cracked and everything. That was very great, huh?
I'm back in school. I'm back in the flow of things. You know,
School started like a month ago, right?
Well, yeah, but it's like now we're entering like the first tests are like next week. So you're like, it's no longer syllabus or silly week as we call it.
Are you studying?
Yeah.
Dad mode.
Of course. Yeah, going dad mode again.
Scary David.
Hey, I need it. I need some more. I need plenty of dad/uncle guidance. That's what I call my coworkers at TexAgs.
Dad/uncle.
Yeah.
And if you were to break
OB's the grandpa.
OB's what are the different styles? You've got
OB's the grandpa. You, Bronny, Dalton, and Richard, I consider the uncles.
Okay.
My fun uncles. You're the more strict uncle, though.
Am I strict?
A little bit.
Am I really?
Because Dalton, Richard, and Bronny are going to be strict.
But I don't think I'm like strict with you.
Bronny is like the younger age, like uncle /
He'll drink a beer with you.
Yeah. Like I can talk to him about drama and he appreciates it.
And if you and I talk to you about like micronutrients.
Yeah,
and
yeah. See, there's just different connections.
God,
with
I used to be so
each
fun.
Uncle.
I used to be way more fun. What the heck happened to me?
I can talk drama. I can talk micronutrients. We got both ends of the.
What is 6 Cents? What is this?
It is a company that would send merch to my brother who owns a YouTube channel.
Is that right?
Actually, they did.
Screen capture, sponsorship, TexAgs.
6 Cents, the owner or someone did see me wearing this one time and like send a text to my brother and was like, "Is that your sister?" So shout out 6 Cents.
All right, we can screenshot that, send it to him, all right? Or screen capture. Around Aggieland now, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com. What do we have going on?
Well, let's
around
get
Aggieland?
straight to it. We're in a busy time of year. As we
you know what? Hold on. Got to interrupt. I feel like every time we do Around Aggieland, that's what we say.
But no,
But it
this
is a busy. Okay.
Because we're about to get into overlap season.
Yes, this is true.
Which, whenever football and basketball
We're already overlapping softball.
Yeah, starts today. Speaking of, let's start off with some
Start up there.
softball.
Look
So
at you.
Trisha Ford will enter her second season. That they began the Aggie Classic today. We will have coverage of that throughout the weekend. They are taking on Valpo, Lehigh, and Tulsa. So if you want to see some softball, head out to Davis Diamond, get over there. Hopefully the weather allows some softball to be played, but we are looking forward to that. And then, let's move back over to football. National Signing Day was just on Wednesday. A&M added 3 more names, as you have probably heard of them. We've been talking a lot about them. Robert Borden, 6'6" offensive lineman from Tennessee.
Lacrosse.
Also a lacrosse player. I'd love to see some
I'm
tape
calling him a
of
lacrosse
that.
legend.
I would love to see a 6'6" guy
All right.
just tearing it up. Ashton Bethel Roman got out of his letter of intent in Arkansas and then signed with A&M, a 6'1" wide receiver from Mo City. And last but not least, good old Terry Bussey coming as an athlete from Timpson. And then to go back, that is a 17-man haul for the class. There are actually 9 of those new enrollees are at A&M right now. And then they had 23 transfers, which is 40 newcomers. Also on the football front, Myles Garrett, NFL's Defensive Player of the Year. Well deserved. Also, if you are looking to tune into some basketball this weekend, men's takes on Tennessee on Saturday, and then women's on Sunday, Kentucky. Watch that before the Super Bowl.
Awesome, Kay.
Of course.
There was a lot going
fast.
on.
Also, baseball starts next week, and then also track, and then also golf. Daniel Rodriguez was named SEC Golfer of the Week. So, a lot of stuff, like I said.
I don't like being the mean uncle.
No.
I think I'm a fun,
You're the
mean uncle.
Mean and strict are different.
Okay.
You're here
I am
on the
pretty strict.
strict spectrum.
I have not gotten mad at anybody that works here, except Richard once and Dalton once.
You keep us in check. That's good.
I feel like I need. That's it. Keg stand after the show.
All right.
With water. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, somebody who's just as strict as I am, John Harris from the Houston Texans. Andre Johnson to the Hall of Fame. Heck yeah, buddy. We'll talk to him. We will, what else do we got going on? Oh, Sam Mathews coming in the studio. That and more TexAgs Radio. Johnny, I was just told I'm the strict uncle at TexAgs. Do you believe that to be the case? Am I a strict personality?
I could see it. I could see that being a club in your bag, but that's not the first word that comes to mind when I think of you.
What do you think?
Charming. I mean, good hair.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Tough on a basketball court.
I am tough. I'm not good, but I'm tough.
Very detailed.
Yes. Yeah.
Very detailed, bordering on OCD.
Yep, I got it.
Hell of a teammate.
Yeah, I love the way you speak, buddy.
Yeah. And then maybe down the road, like once you get to 11, 12, then I would say strict elementary school teacher.
TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We've got John Harris on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. And Johnny obviously does footballtakeover.com. I recommend you check that out. And he's a Houston Texans sideline reporter. Johnny, I'm going to make this about me again, and I apologize. But I had a vision when I worked at Channel 13 that I would take a page out of the Bob Allen playbook. Bob Allen was a legendary sportscaster in Houston, kind of like Del Hansen in Dallas, same level of legend. Yep. And I thought, I'm going to one day go to Canton with Andre Johnson and interview him the way Bob did with Warren Moon and did with Earl Campbell. We're going to have this great relationship and yada, yada, yada. Not that Andre and I had that kind of relationship because Bob and Earl used to party together. But I say that because I've been seeing this day come since way early on, 15, 60 days, 2008, that this day was probably going to happen. And it happened last night that he got the call.
Yeah, there are some people saying last night, I know our pal Sean Pendergast said last night was the greatest night in Texans history. I think it was the greatest Texans celebration in history. To have C.J. Stroud win Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Will Anderson win Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Andre to go in the Hall of Fame. It's a shame that D'Amico tied with Kevin Stefanski, but Stefanski gets it because he had one more first-place vote. I mean, I don't know. I thought D'Amico, it shouldn't even been that close. D'Amico's coach of the year, and of course I'm going to defend my guy, but I just feel like when you're +7 wins over the year prior and you know 31-point playoff win over the coach who wins coach of the year and it's a tie, you should win the tie. That should break the tie. But I digress. It was a hell of a night for the Houston Texans, past, present, and future. And Andre, you know, it's interesting. I got back to Houston in 2007, so I started watching Andre at that point. And I remember I was so excited to go see practice for the first time and see him up close. And I just remember looking at him like, damn, like he's a receiver? Holy cow. Like he's a freakazoid. And then you saw him do things on a field that were just otherworldly. And I remember the game in 2008 against Miami where he stole the ball. I mean, Texans are 0-4. They had Hurricane Ike hit. They were going to have to play 15 games in a row. They had to move their bye week up, and it was just a mess. They lost 4 in a row. Like, oh, man, this season's going to the toilet. And Andre Johnson stole the ball away from Jeremiah Bell on a 4th down play, and all of a sudden they kind of turned the season around and ended up, I think, 500, 8-8, which is something nobody thought they would get to it in 2008. After starting 0-4, Andre was a big part of that. Andre is a big part of everything. He was the first Texan to really, I mean, he wasn't the first Texan to go to the Pro Bowl. He's the first one to go there regularly. He's an incredible ambassador of this particular organization. You know, and I've had plenty of opportunities since to interview him with Mark Vandermeer here. And, you know, we just had him back in probably January, I think early January, late December, we had a chance to talk to him. And, you know, we kind of talked a little bit about the Hall of Fame, and it's one of those kind of weird things because you can't really do anything about it. You know, if you had a game coming up the next week, you know, you can run more routes. You can work on your, hands. You can catch 100 balls from the jugs machine. You can go study film a little bit more. But this is just, Hayes in the barn. And now you're just letting, a group of sports writers and sports analysts kind of determine your fate. And that's kind of hard. And he kind of acknowledged that. But he's like, I didn't play to go to the Hall of Fame. I played for my teammates. I played for my organization. I played for my city and gave it the best that I could. And that's always been his stance. But seeing him on that stage last night in Las Vegas and seeing the smile from ear to ear for Andre Johnson, man, me, I'm kind of an emotional dude. I started getting choked up like, man, this is badass. This is like, man, wow, this is really cool. And I know that, there'll be other fans teams, in particular the Cowboys, and it's a regular thing for them to have guys go to the Hall of Fame. I mean, DeMarcus Ware, just last year, I think. I mean, it happens so often. I mean, it's, so-called America's team. I mean, they're so used to, oh, well, this guy's going to the Hall of Fame, that guy. For Houston, because of the football history and the broken history it's been, we didn't go, from Oilers to Oilers. This wasn't the Oilers the whole time. We had the 3-year break, and then it's the Texans. And obviously it's been tough. But Andre was the one thing that gave you hope. And then they built around him. And they got Matt Schaub, and, they started winning some games. I'll never forget them being in the locker room after they had won the playoff game. And, I mean, what he had been through the first 7-8 years of his career, and now he's in the playoffs, and it was incredible for him. I wanted to see him win a championship, but he stayed connected to the organization. He's a great ambassador of the organization. He's a tremendous guy. I'm so happy for him. I'm happy for the organization, everybody involved. I mean, people were just dying for him to get in large part because they love him and they love the guy that he is. I know there are probably a lot of places that are like, man, I don't really care whether that guy gets in or not. He didn't care for us. Andre cared for us. Andre cared for the people of Houston. He loved the city of Houston. Houston is his home. This is where he lives now, and he's really taken that in, and we love him for it. And I was just so happy to have him go in. And you can still come to Canton, Dave. You got to find a TexAgs angle, I'm sure, for Lucci to approve your expenses. But definitely got to find a way. I know there are a lot of people from Houston that'll find a way to get there for sure.
Well, hey, I mean, I saw John McClain doing some stuff for HoustonTexans.com. David Nuño coming in to help out Drew Doherty do some interviews. I see it in the future.
And look, anything's possible. I think, and I tweeted this last night, I think the NFL should put us in the Hall of Fame game against the Bears. I mean, the Bears got 3 players from their organization, Steve McMichael and the seniors committee, and then you had Devin Hester and Julius Peppers getting in. I think Texans-Bears makes a lot of sense in a Hall of Fame game. We can we'd probably be up there for 3 or 4 days. Mark and I doing interviews, and I've never been to Canton, so I always said I wanted to wait until, when I hadn't been there in the first 50 years of my life, I said, I'm just going to wait until Dre gets in. Then when Dre gets in, I'm going. And so hopefully we can all put it together as a work trip, and we'll go. And, I don't know, maybe you can, help me. If we play that game, you can help me on the sidelines that day. Who knows?
That would be phenomenal. I went once to interview Michael Strahan when he got in. I feel like I'm name dropping my good friend Michael Strahan. Johnny, one last thing on Andre before we move on to Myles Garrett. You can't, he was so much more than the Cortland Finnegan moment. Yet the Cortland Finnegan moment, that beatdown, we were in the press box that day, still such a classic moment.
It's funny. I always wondered, and we talked to him so often, since about it. I often wondered, would he want to ever talk? Is that one of the things you ever really want to talk about? And because there's some moments a lot of people will, they listen to 1560 for a long time. They bring up one of my famous moments where I screamed at a caller, let's go put the film on, bro. And it's kind of become my catchphrase. For a few years, I didn't really want to talk about it. I'm like, I didn't want to talk about it. But, as time has gone on, I'm like, yeah, man, I had to smite that dude. He was talking a bunch of, bleep. I had to let him know what it was. And so it's kind of the way Andre was. I think the first few years afterwards, he didn't really want to talk about it. But as he's been removed from it, he tells more and more of the story about Finnegan and what a PAB Cortland was on the field, and that those teams, the Titans and Texans, in that from probably 2007, 2008 to 2011 and 12, there were a lot of beefs on those teams. Kyle Vandenbosch and Joel Dreesen, Andre and Cortland. I mean, it was dicey. Jeff Fisher was always kind of trying to get under people's skin. It was dicey. And Finnegan was the perfect Jeff Fisher player, but he just stepped to the wrong guy on the wrong date, and then turtled. Claude Lemieux did back in '97 against the Red Wings. He just turtled as Andre is just dropping haymakers. And I think that probably, for as great as Andre was, I think those punches he delivered to an absolute pest from that organization and to that organization endured. I mean, it left an indelible memory in Texans fans' minds. Yes, they'll talk about Andre Johnson, a great player. Then they'll always say, and he beat the hell out of Cortland Finnegan too. And that's always fun. But it's interesting as years pass, we can bring that up, or it gets brought up with him and he'll talk more and more about it. In fact, the interview we did back in December, January, I think we were getting ready to play the Titans. And so that was kind of that topic came back up, and he spent a few minutes talking about how we had gotten there. And he brought up the Joel Dreesen, Kyle Vanden Bosch thing, which had been a running thing for like 2 or 3 years. And so that kind of played a role in all this. And so he talked a little bit more about it. And it's just interesting. I almost tweeted last night. I almost tweeted something about Cortland Finnegan last night and Andre. And I was like, nah, I'm not this isn't the time. Maybe someday, but this isn't the time.
Johnny, Myles Garrett gets the Defensive Player of the Year. Well-deserved. What a phenomenal season. When you see the player that he's become, he's lived up to what everybody expected.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I mean, I saw him up close, 2 times this year, and I don't think he was right. I think he had a shoulder injury. I think probably a couple of weeks before we played him in the regular season. And I don't think that he ever got back to what he was doing. Before that, I don't know if there was a more dominant guy that we saw all year. He was incredible. The way that he was rushing from all different spots on the field. He was doing basketball moves on centers. He was Euro cross chops. I mean, he's been incredible. But when he got that shoulder injury, it really kind of slowed him down. And yet, it's not as if teams can go, well, we'll just put one guy on him, we'll be okay. You still have to account for him on every single play with double teams and chips and all that kind of stuff. You still have to do that. But I think Myles has, there's so many guys that get drafted number 1 overall that aren't quarterbacks. And Mario Williams went through this. Trayvon Walker's going through this now in Jacksonville. And when you're number 1 overall pick, the expectation is you're going to have 35 sacks and 8 forced fumbles in week 3 of the season. And that's just, the expectations are just so grandiose for the number 1 pick in the draft. And that's tough. And I knew when Trayvon Walker was taken with number 1 pick in Jacksonville, because he wasn't quite even the polished player that Myles was, he was going to take it. And he's been taking it. And for a long time in Cleveland, there really was kind of this begrudging respect for Myles. Well, he's number 1 pick. He should have 20 sacks, and he should be doing this. And, well, J.J. Watt did this. And, well, this guy's doing this. And T.J. Watt is doing this. And it's like, no, Myles is his guy, his own guy. And he's going to show you how dominant he can be. And over the last 2-3 years, he's been incredible. And y'all have seen him. I mean, to see that guy, that athlete move that fast and that quick and that dominant is incredible. And I was so happy for him to have won the award. I know TJ Watt, tweeted something. I don't know if that was in reference to the award or not, but I know the struggles that Myles went through, like posting numbers the last few weeks, but I know he's dealing with that shoulder injury. He's just, when healthy, it's hard to put other players in his class because of what an athletic freakazoid he is. And now he has learned how to put that athleticism with, how you play the position. Like, he's learned how to rush. He's learned how to rush from different parts of the field. He's learned how he can be an impact player against both the pass and the run. I was happy to see him get the Defensive Player of the Year last night. And I think he was happy too. You just saw his reaction. I think he was happy to have won that as well. I think Micah Parsons did some incredible things. I think TJ did some stuff until he got hurt at the end of the year. I think Myles playing through that shoulder injury was, he did what he had to do to get the team into playoffs. But that kind of took away. I think Myles is the right guy, and I love the fact that he has become the player that he's become. And I think Cleveland fans now know, okay, yeah, this guy was absolutely worth that number 1 pick for sure.
Johnny, what do you think Sunday comes down to, the Super Bowl? What is it going to come down to? Is it Mahomes magic? Is it defense? What do you think the keys for both teams?
Well, I think from the 49ers standpoint, it's how they disrupt Kelsey. And I thought that Luke Kuechly did a really nice job on K&M's show the other day, and I've said this here in Houston talking about it, is you can't expect Kelsey to ever be in the position you think he's going to be in. You have to just go where he goes. And a lot of times he gets lost because teams are expecting, based on route concepts and combinations, oh, well, he's going to be here. Well, no, he doesn't end up there. And he has such a synergy. And I remember this in the playoff game against the Chiefs. He ran a route, and the route was supposed to go to the outside. But Justin Reed played the route perfectly. And Kelce he felt Justin knowing what the route was. And so Justin started looking back for the ball because he felt like he was in phase. He was right where he needed to be. And Kelce realized, nope, this throw isn't here. And he turned back to the inside. And that is not where he should go. And Mahomes threw it to the inside because he just knew that Kelce was going to do what it took to get open. And so the Niners have got to be able to clamp Kelce and play his kind of improvisational game with him. And it's almost got to be, like you're playing a boxing one in football instead of basketball. And you play the four-man zone, and then one guy is on Kelce everywhere. It doesn't matter whether he runs a zigzag route, whether he runs a post or curl, whatever. That guy is staying with Kelce and not looking back at the ball, just staying in Kelce's pocket the whole time. That's what I think you got to do. And I think on the other side, the 49ers, they got to chip away at that Chiefs defense. I think physically, the Chiefs defense has been good, but I feel like the 49ers can run the football at them, and they got to run it in some different ways. But they got to get CMC involved early and keep him involved, because I think that's the one guy that Chiefs might have the most trouble staying with. And I think that's going to be the key. How often can we get CMC the ball, and how many different ways can we get him the ball? So from the 49ers standpoint, it's locking down Kelce. The Chiefs, it's got to be slowing down CMC. It's got to be stopping and stunting his progress at the line of scrimmage, not allowing cutback runs, cut-up runs, things like that. I think it's going to be a closer game than anybody, and I think maybe the odds makers have it close. I feel like this is a close game, but I feel like if it's close at the end, Mahomes will go get it. I mean, Mahomes has gotten to the status of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan didn't walk into a game, okay, well, go score 30, go get 20 rebounds, go lock down this guy. He just did whatever it took to go get a win. And you look up at the end of the day, like Michael Jordan won. And then you look at the numbers later. And I think that's kind of the way it is with Mahomes. Mahomes is going to find a way to go get a win if it's close. So 49ers, they got to Mahomes-proof this game. They got to get up by a couple touchdowns going into the fourth quarter to make sure they can salt this thing away. Shoot, he took it away from them the last time in Miami. They had a 10-point lead. Mahomes went and got it. So you got to Mahomes-proof this game if you're the 49ers. And if you're the Chiefs, keep it close enough to where Mahomes can go win it for you in the end.
Johnny, last thing for you. Edge Cooper getting a lot of love. I know you've given him love throughout the year, and I think we talk about him almost every other week. Do you see him falling? Do you see him rising to the first round, as some people are starting to think is possible?
Yep, absolutely. Because there'll be some team that sits there and goes, well, we have a big issue at linebacker. And, well, who's the best one on the board? And then you look at Cooper and you look at his speed, you look at the athleticism, you look at all the things, all the assets that you want in an inside linebacker. And you're like, okay, well, we'll take him. Now, I mean, we're sitting at 23. I don't know what our linebacker needs are going to be. I mean, Christian Harris is starting to turn into what I think Edgerrin Cooper can be. So, will the Texans, put Edgerrin Cooper next to Christian Harris and have just two monsters in linebacker? Look at the linebackers that are going to play on Sunday. Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, dude. Nick Bolton, Chiefs, dude. I mean, you're going to have, and the Chiefs have had some injuries. Willie Gay has played that position a little bit, but he's been hurt. Drew Tranquil is kind of in and out. But the teams that made it to the division round of playoffs, they had dudes in linebackers. So I do think that teams are going to be looking for a guy that can do it all. And I think Edge can. There's going to be a lot of learning that goes with that. So Edge the first year is going to be a lot of learning of the scheme that he's going to be in. But I think we saw what happens. Cooper learned the scheme in 2022. In 2023, he excelled with that. I did a scouting report at footballtakeover.com where I dove into it. I've got the video breakdown. You can see it on YouTube. It's all right there. So footballtakeover.com. So you can go check it out, Edgerrin Cooper. I think he's going to be the highest of the Aggies that's taken. And I do think there's a possibility of him getting into the last 8 to 10 picks of the first round. I do think that's a possibility for sure.
Johnny Harris, footballtakeover.com, Houston Texans sideline reporter. Johnny, thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank
See
you,
buddy.
Sir. Later, bro. John Harris there, breaking it all down like he always does. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Ethan Jones got some stats for us, a little Andy Garcia stats, not the actor, the Aggie basketball player. And there's like most of you are like, who are you talking about? Anyway, Costa Vida time. You hungry? Go to Costa Vida right now. Like right now would be a great time to go because right now you're in that little brunch kind of vibe, right? It's 10 o'clock. Get your coffee on, get your breakfast burrito on, and your meeting goes a little bit longer. You're like, oh, it's lunchtime. Get myself some quesadillas. You can do that when you go to Costa Vida. The food is great. It's fresh smacks done the right way where every ingredient matters. But let's just say you're going to be at the game against Tennessee, A&M versus Tennessee. You want to eat a little Costa Vida? You can do that because the concession stand is there for all A&M men's and women's basketball games on the right side of the main entrance, directly across sections 113 and 112. And that menu consists of chili lime chicken and sweet pork burritos, chili lime chicken and sweet pork quesadillas, chips, and queso. That's what you get when you go there to Reed Arena. You're hungry, you want to eat, you go there, you get your Costa Vida on. And, of course, if you're in the Brazos Valley, you go to South College Station and you get your munch on there at Costa Vida. It is the place to go, Aggie owned and operated. Say hi to Holly for us when you go out there. 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station. 4501 Mills Park Circle in South College Station, I should say. It's Costa Vida. Go check them out. And we are back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It's been a minute, but Ethan Jones does our stats for us. Always dresses up with some kind of jersey situation, honoring somebody. CJ Stroud today?
Yes, sir. Hey, he won Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he did.
My Texans got 2 awards. Should have got 3. I think Ryan should have won Coach of the Year, but we don't need to worry
Hair
about
looks
that.
a little different. Am I right? Hair's a little different?
Yeah, a little different. I got the sides
The
cut
sides
a little
are trimmed,
bit.
yeah.
A little, I guess, puffier. I don't know, on the top, something like that.
Puffy's good. So you did some basketball stats for us, and you focused on my favorite player, everybody's favorite player now, but I was on the train way before everybody, Anderson Garcia.
Yeah, he's a great player. Honestly, underrated by a lot of people. He's starting to gain steam. More people are talking about him, but like by the media, they don't talk about him as much as they should. And here's like a few
I am the
stats.
media.
You are the media. I'm talking about the national media that's not A&M media.
Okay.
So we're trying to spread so everyone's talking about it. So let's talk about a few stats that show like how valuable he is to this A&M team. First, we know great rebounder. A&M ranks second in the nation with 43.3 rebounds per game. Garcia is a big reason why we're so dominant rebounding. He averages 8.9 rebounds per game, which is first in the SEC. In SEC play, he averages 9.2, so he raised his rebounding game. And then he averages 4.3 rebounds, offensive rebounds per game, which is second in the nation. So for a 6-man, he's second in the nation offensive rebounds per game, which is crazy. Also, Garcia has had 10 or more rebounds in 9 games this season. Also, 21% of A&M's 43.3 rebounds per game are brought down by Garcia. Here's a couple more about rebounds. The 8.9 rebounds Garcia is averaging per game is the most by Aggie since Robert Williams brought down 9.2 rebounds per game in the 2017-2018 season. And Garcia's 4.3 offensive rebounds per game is the most offensive rebounds per game by Aggie since they joined the SEC in 2012. The second most was Tyler Davis so the same season as Robert Williams with 3.5 offensive rebounds per game. So he just dominates the boards in every facet, especially offensive rebounds, which is so valuable because you can get second chance points, putbacks, and he's great at that. Another thing he's great at is defense. He has 16 blocks this season, which ranks 16 in the SEC, and is tied for the highest on A&M. Even more impressive, he averages the 10th most steals per game in the SEC with 1.5 steals per game, and he's only one of 2 forwards who rank inside the top 10. Like it's steals per game is usually a guard-dominated stat, but him and one other forward are in the top 10 because he's just a very he hustles, and he just is always after the offensive player, and it's so good. So you can see that in his steals. Also, in 21 out of 22 games this season, he has had at least 1 block or 1 steal. Another way, usually we emphasize his rebounding, his defense, but also his offense is very underrated. Points per game is 6.2, which is 6th on the team. Assists per game, 1.8, which is 3rd on the team, which that surprised me. Yeah. It's he's 3rd in assist. Field goal percentage, 52.5, is 2nd. Free throw attempts, he has 69, which is 3rd on the team. Also, when he's more involved in offense, we are more likely to win. So in wins, he averages 3.9 field goal attempts, and losses, only 3.1. Free throw attempts and wins, 3.5, and losses, 2.5. Points, 6.7 in wins, 4.9 in losses, and then assist, wins, 2.1, losses, 1.1.
So, and it doesn't look like that much of a difference, but this is a team that has lost games. As we mentioned, out of the last 7, they're 5-2 in the last 7. Those games combined were by 4 points, if I remember correctly. So we're talking about 1 bucket here, 1 assist here, making a huge difference.
Yeah, and Garcia, when we try to emphasize him more in the offense, he can make that difference. And one of the biggest things about Garcia is a lot of his contributions you can't see on the stat sheet. I just gave a bunch of stats, but even the way he hustles, the way he always dives after loose balls, all that different stuff, he just contributes in so many ways. And like I said, national media, I'm calling you out. Talk about him more.
The national media does watch TexAgs, so I'm glad you called them out.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's watching.
Hey, Ethan, great job, brother. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Sam Mathews, he's in the lobby. He will be here on the program. We'll chit-chat with Sam, but right now, let's talk a little Rollo Insurance. They're the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They can write down any form of insurance to anyone in Texas and several other states as well. I think they got 50 offices now here here in Texas. I need to fact check that with Jackson and Jason over there. The headquarters is on Highway 6. Was just there here in College Station. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. Waited too long for this one. Welcome back to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Sam Mathews is in the house. What's up, 12th man?
How are you doing?
Great to see you, man.
Yes, sir. Great seeing you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in. So before we get into your story, I think this was cool. You were telling me at the break. You're training in Houston, but who are you training with?
I'm training with Anais Smith's father, Coach Mo.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's been kicking my butt the last couple of weeks.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's all, you just got to trust the process. He'll get me there.
Hey, let me get this in front of you right
Okay.
There we go. That is awesome. So, like, is the goal the NFL? Is that what you're working on?
The goal is the NFL. Hopefully I get an opportunity to go play and, continue chasing my dream. But, obviously I've already accomplished more than I wish or I ever dreamed I would accomplish here at A&M. So, hopefully things continue, but it has been a hell of a ride.
Well, let's talk about that, because your journey here, like, you're used to grinding. You've had to grind your entire football career, especially collegiate career. So if you have to grind a little bit to get to the NFL, you're no stranger to that. You didn't get to A&M right away. So let's talk about your path from Harding to Blinn to A&M and eventually on the football team.
Right. So coming out of high school, obviously I played quarterback, and I dreamed of, getting the big D1 offer and, going to try and win the Heisman or something. But, sadly that never came. I had maybe 12, 13 offers from D2, D3, JUCO schools combined, and decided to go to Searcy, Arkansas, accepted a scholarship at Harding University. They actually just won the D2 national championship.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. But, Arkansas really wasn't for me. I wasn't a fan of the offense they were running, so I decided to transfer. I was hoping to get into A&M right away and just continue my football career like that, but things didn't work out that way. I had to take Bible and chapel classes at Harding, and those didn't really transfer all that great into the four-year universities, and so I had to go to Blinn where I was just being a student. I had to go to Blinn for an entire year where I was just trying to get the credit so I could, walk on to A&M's football team. So
This Blinn or in Brenham?
No, I was at Blinn and Bryan.
Okay.
Yeah, just being a student right down the road. So, had fun at school there. I have nothing bad to say against Blinn. I loved school there. So finally get into A&M, and that's when COVID kicked off. This was fall of 2020, and it just felt like another, hurdle that I had to jump over. So, more waiting, more of me just, going to the field by myself, going to the weight room and lifting, trying to be ready for when the opportunity came. Finally, spring of 21 shows up. I get the opportunity to walk on, and, that's where things really started for me.
So walking on, like, people have this vision, but it's hard, right? Like, how do you get the coaches to take you serious? Yes, you got to be good, but there's a lot of guys in your same shoes trying to do the same thing that you did.
Right. It's a tough road. I mean, you're there, but you're not really given the opportunities that maybe some of the, higher recruits that they've brought in are given. So it takes a lot of patience, a lot of hard work. I really found a home on special teams, and that's what everybody told me as a walk-on. You're going to have to, work on special teams. That's just how it is. So I really found a home on special teams, and I really enjoyed it. And for any walk-on that needs any advice, I'd tell them take it seriously. Walk-on or special teams is definitely the route to go, and who knows, maybe you'll get your start one day just like I did.
So the COVID year ended up saving you, but it almost hurt you because COVID year allows you to have one more year of eligibility. Right. And your clock started early because of your first year at Harding. And they counted the year, if I'm remembering the tea leaves correctly, they counted the year that you did not play in 2020 against you because you had already started the clock.
Right.
So you weren't sure you could play last year at this point, right?
No, sir. Going into spring ball, I went to our eligibility advisor and asked him. My mom was bugging me. She wanted to know if I had 1 or 2 more years left. So I went up to talk to him, and he was like, "You're actually out of eligibility." And I was distraught. I was like, "This can't be. Like, there's no way. I've only played 2 seasons of college football." And so we had to go through this long process. Send in a waiver. All the spring ball goes by. It took a couple months for it to finally, go through the whole process and for them to come to a decision on it. But it got approved, God willing. And, everything kind of took off from there. Got 12th man and had a great year. So
I know Mark Robinson helped out with that, part of the former staff. That weight, like, you just stayed in shape, right?
Yes, sir. I mean, I didn't really have another choice. It was either, be complacent and stop grinding. And then if it does get approved, I'm, in a bad position physically and mentally. But I just had to continue showing up every single day like it was going to get approved. I didn't want to take anything away from my teammates or the coaching staff. So I just tried to be consistent and as professional as possible about the whole thing.
So it's one thing to walk on and be on the team, but to get the role that you got. And then we'll get to the 12th man role, but how about that? Like, you said you embraced the special teams part of it, but then they started going to you more and going to you more and going to you more.
Right. I mean, like I said, I took special teams seriously, and it definitely gave the coaches the confidence and the willingness to put me in the game and trust me in different scenarios. So that all kind of sparked the last year against Florida whenever, we went down in a pretty big game and we needed some help on defense. And so Coach Durkin came to me and he was like, "Sammy, you ready?" And I was like, "Coach, I've been waiting on this moment." So, I got to go in, made a couple good tackles in the last quarter that I played. And, even fast forward to this year's bowl game, got my start. And I just really appreciate the coaches having all the confidence in the world in me to, go out there and perform just like, maybe some of the vets and the other guys that they have on the team.
So help me out with this. The mindset, special teams, you're out to go kill or go make a tackle. Like, it's quick. You've got 5 to 7 seconds to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
How different is it when you step on the field as a starter on defense mentally, or just, you're finishing out a game and like, this is SEC football where, it isn't just attack. It's also know your role, and you have to know your role in special teams. I don't mean that, but
right.
There's a little bit different types of strategy involved.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, the preparation that goes into it. I've never played that position that I started in the bowl game before, boundary safety. So it was a lot of, learning a new role, going over film, trying to ID different tendencies and motions that they have. But you really have to be locked in. And some of those drives got pretty long that we played against Oklahoma State. So, it's not really like special teams where you go out there for one play and you can hop back off the field. You are signed up to play, 14, 15 play drives if it gets that long. So definitely physically it was draining for sure. I got light-winded a couple times out there on the field, but mentally it's so much, more intricate and detailed than special teams is. It's, IDing people, looking at personnel, trying to read the quarterback's eyes and just be aware of the whole field. So it was definitely tough, but I'm glad I rose to the occasion.
All right. What about, tell me if you can remember your mind right before the pick and right after the pick.
It's so tough, maybe blacked out there a little bit, but, starting the play, I was just, it was too high. We were playing inside and underneath leverage with our guys there on the line. So all I really had to do was roof everybody and stay up top. Got in my back pedal and saw the quarterback looking at the inside seam guy. And as soon as he threw it, I was like, this is coming right to me. He overthrew that. Like, this is coming right to me. So then it turns into, really lock in on the ball because the easiest ones always turn into the hardest ones. So it was just like, just catch the ball. Please just catch the ball. So I secured it, got down, and then the whole crowd was going crazy. I knew which area my family was sitting in, so I ran over there as fast as I could. I wanted to celebrate with them and the rest of the 12th man.
I bet you for your family, man, that like as much as that was special for you, even more for them.
Right, 100%. I hope I make them proud.
No, you absolutely have made them proud. When did the idea, I might be the 12th man, like when did that become a thing? Because I think there's a backstory about some folks close to you thinking, we're going to make this kind of a goal for, at least they had a goal for you, I should say.
Whenever I initially walked on, I didn't have my eyes set on being the 12th man. I really just wanted to walk on for the A&M football team. And, I kind of got lost in being a walk-on, or not lost, but, I really, just dedicated myself fully to being a walk-on. And in turn, like, you just start building and stacking days, and it comes like a really achievable idea that you can be the 12th man one day. So I really hope that I put myself in the running at least to be the 12th man. And so whenever they finally made the announcement, I was like, God, everything I've been working for is like coming true right now.
So what were the emotions like that day? You everything you just said, oh my gosh, it finally happened. Sense of relief, or maybe both relief and now I got real work to do?
Right. No, for sure. Definitely relief and real work to do. It was a long time coming. I mean, I think Jimbo announced it a few days before our first game. And so it was kind of one of those things like we're just I was at least just waiting day by day. I'm like, he's got to announce it soon. So finally he announced it, and it was, a big sigh of relief. I was glad to be there and celebrate with everybody on the team. And that was an amazing experience. Wanted to call my mom, my girlfriend, and but also at the same time, that was definitely like, this is your responsibility. Like, you have to take this seriously. You represent more than just, a number that you're wearing on the front and back. You represent the university. You represent this football team. You represent the walk-ons everywhere. So I really bought into that, and I hope that, I did the university service and, just doing it justice and being the 12th man this year.
I think Travis Brown from the Eagle even wrote, your girlfriend put it on her notes as a potential, like, hey, you're going to be 12th man one day.
She did, yeah. She manifested it for sure. She's been a sweetheart the entire time, and she's been pushing me to be better, in all areas of my life, not just football. So it was great to finally see that happen. And, it was just a huge coincidence, but she believed in me the entire time.
What's her name?
Her name's Sarah Blair.
Hey, thanks. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, no doubt. So who do you pal around with on the team? Who did you learn from? Who were some of the guys? Obviously, you must have a great relationship with Anias to be working out with his dad. Who are some of the folks you learned from?
Right. Initially, like, my greatest friend group on the team were always the walk-ons. It was just my home. Like, I've known some of those guys for 4 years at this point. So it was great to kind of, just stick with them through the entire process. But, like, there's the vets on the team. Damani Richardson was a great, mentor for me, really pushed me mentally, physically, because, he kind of saw something in me whenever I first showed up. And so he kind of wanted to see maybe me, fulfill that potential a little bit. Guys like Cooper, who I've just seen grow in this entire process into this stud of a linebacker that he is. So him, Anias is the best leader I've ever been around. So I really couldn't have asked for a better, group of people to kind of, chase my dream with. And so, yeah, I just greatly appreciate them.
Was there a moment, maybe at practice, that you're like, oh yeah, I'm made for this. Like, because I'm sure there's got to be a little bit of doubt. This is SEC football. Even 5 stars probably come into SEC football like, man, this is kind of a different level.
Right. For sure. I mean, my first day on the team, they already had safety depth issues, so I was kind of thrown into not the starting lineup, but I was thrown into maybe the 3s or the 2s my first day in there, and I'm just chasing people around. And so maybe I got lost trying to cover Anias and Moose some of those times, those great talents. But our first spring game, I ended up, coming up with a pick against Haynes King covering Anias. And, maybe at the time, I don't know if I got lucky or anything, but definitely boosted my confidence and made me feel like, maybe you can compete with these guys that are playing at this level. So maybe that's where the journey really started for me.
I remember that moment and how cool it was. When you look back at the last couple years, you had a front row view. You were part of it. Is it shocking this team didn't accomplish more?
Yeah, 100%. This has been one of the greatest teams that I've been around in my entire life playing football. Some of the people that we have are just invaluable, and they're going to be great assets to any team they go play for, professionally or at the next level. So it is kind of tough to digest that maybe we didn't accomplish everything we set out to. But, also in the pursuit of that, I feel like we learned so many lessons and, learned so much about ourselves that we can take past, just football and, really apply it to life. Like, this year, Jimbo gets, let go, right? And we have to bring in somebody new, and the team really just, really bonded together, bounced back, and it just shows that, there's going to be obstacles in your way, but you just got to keep pushing because you set goals for yourself, so you can't stop until you get there.
I don't know how close you've been to the action now that Coach Elko's taken over, but just talk about what you've heard and like the breath of fresh air.
I really enjoy Elko. I had him as my defensive coordinator my first year here, and he's a great mindset. He's really able to relate to the guys, and so I think he's going to bring, a new culture here, a winning culture that's going to, take the SEC by storm. But I have all the trust in the world in him. The coaching staff that he's brought on, I've heard great stuff about them. The kids really seem bought into the whole entire process. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do next year. And, hopefully can score some sideline passes to go watch it in person.
Well, think about it, man. Like, hopefully you're on an NFL roster, but they're not playing August 31st when Notre Dame comes to town. Maybe you'll be here, right?
No, I should 100%. I'm looking forward to the Thanksgiving game against UT. I might have to see what I can do there, but that'll probably be my premiere. If I can go to that game, that'll be life-changing for me.
Does your family have a background in A&M?
So I have extended family for sure that's been to A&M, aunts, cousins, uncles, but my immediate family was, the first Aggie to come through. My pops was in the military for 20-something years. He started right out of high school. My mom went to SFA, and my older brother was a running back at a D3 university, and my sisters went elsewhere. So,
let me close out with a couple thoughts on current players. So when you first got on the field and you saw Connor kind of like start emerging, could you just tell? Like a lot of times people tell me like, hey, we knew this guy had it.
Connor is special. Just something about him, how he throws the ball, his accuracy, just like his mentality, his clutch. He just has the it factor. Like whenever people talk about Johnny Manziel, he wins games. Like that's everything I see in Connor. He just has it. I can't really explain it, but I'm praying that we finally get our full year with Connor Wigman because I think that he's gonna really lead this team somewhere, hopefully the national championship.
And he's confident but not cocky. There's a fine line between the two. He knows he can make the play, but it doesn't come across as an arrogance.
Right, exactly. No, he's a very personable guy. I went over to his house and hung out with him a number of times. So, I don't have enough great things to say about the kid. I hope that he just really embraces this leadership role that kind of, A&M, the team is kind of placing him with, being the starting quarterback. But, I hope that he really does embrace that and comes out on top.
How about the way Jalen and Marcel stepped up and like a lot of times backup quarterback, third string quarterback, fourth string. These guys balled out,
right,
man.
No, that's just the next man up mentality. It's kind of been something that we've embraced at A&M since I've at least been here. But Jalen Henderson, can't thank him enough. Great kid, great player. He really did his thing when the opportunity arose. And, I can't thank him enough personally for what he gave to the team and gave to me. Like, he inspired me. Shame that he went down the first play in the game. Step in Marcel Reed. And, this has been a kid that I've just loved since he showed up on the team. Yeah. Great personality, great arm talent. Not cocky or arrogant at all.
Right.
Like he's really just wants to be your friend. So it was great to see him go out there and really dominate the way that he did. We have a bright future here at A&M.
Hey, Sam, last thing for you. Outside of football, what is your potential future? Like when you think about a career at some point, what did you study and what's the plan beyond football?
I graduated the University Studies Business degree here. My ultimate goal is somewhere past football, hopefully be an entrepreneur and run and operate my own business. I have no idea yet. I have a bunch of ideas that I keep in my notes on my phone, so hopefully one of those end up paying off. But I would love the idea to work for myself and kind of support myself and my family in the future.
Let's make it a regular thing. Come back, all right?
Deal. I'm here anytime you need me.
Thank you, Sam.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Sam Mathews here on TexAgs Radio. One final segment when we come back. Two and a half minutes left on the program. I don't know why I showed you three. I guess that would be like 2.5. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. People are saying that the tune-in dropped our show into the Sam Mathews interview. Not sure why the tune-in app would have done that. I apologize to those listening on that. That's where you have to go back to the YouTube page or texags.com or however you get your podcast to hear that rest of that if you missed it. He was fantastic. Sam Mathews, just a cool kid. By the way, it is now time to end the day with Double Dave's. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or one large topping pizza from Double Dave, serving Aggieland since 1984. Serving up your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls with reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click doubledaves.com and your favorites are on the way. Jackson, can I make fun of you for a second?
Go for it.
I didn't realize he was trying to do this, but there's been a couple different times we've had a guest in studio, and Jackson stands up, and I just thought he was very formal. Like, when someone walks in, you just stand up, right? But he wanted to meet Sam Mathews. So I got to do a better job of introducing you, and he walked out. You didn't get your chance, so we'll have to have him back in studio.
Yeah, he was a great guest. I'd love to have him back. No, it's always finding the right time, Just finding the right time
No, you just go up to him and say, what's up, bro?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, so I am a bit socially awkward because I don't drink. And what I mean by socially awkward is I don't mind talking to people. I get a little shy. But like last night at the 12th Man Foundation, I kind of walked in and I knew like 4 people at the event. And it was cool because people I talked to were awesome. But like I'm always like that, like I'm kind of by myself and I don't drink alcohol. I'm just standing there. Who do I talk to now? Until you make eye contact, then you go in. You got to do the eye contact thing, Jackson.
Yeah, always awkward with the eye contact thing, but work on it next time he's in studio.
I had a joke, but I'm just not going to do it. Thank you very much, Jackson. Thank you to the folks at Bryan Broadcasting, always doing great work. Nick Savage, Kay Naegeli, Olin Buchanan, Sam Mathews, John Harris. Who am I missing? Dane Bradshaw, Mark French, Ethan Jones. It's a great show. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Friday. Softball this weekend. A week from today, we've got ourselves some baseball. McNeese and Texas A&M. Got basketball tomorrow. We'll have it all for you on Monday morning. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you Monday.